From Todd Stadium, Newport News, WHCS Channel 29 presents high school football, the Hampton Crabbers versus the Deep Creek Hornets. Good evening, everybody. I'm Tim Cole along with Bob Hins, and we are here for the first game of the 3A regional playoffs. The Hampton Crabbers, their 9th trip in a row to the finals, or at least the playoffs, and the first time for the Deep Creek Hornets. Bob, what can we look for from each of these teams this evening?
I got a chance to talk to coaches from both teams, Tim, and the Deep Creek coaches feel very good about being here. They look at themselves like the Kansas City Royals, that they have been struggling all year, and they feel like that they have a chance to win this ball game. Their offense is limited. They have a quarterback who has passed for almost 1,000 yards, 999 this year, and a running back who's run for 870 some yards. So they only have a two-prong attack, and they have to know that the Hampton Crabbers do things well, and one of the things they do well is play defense. Mike Smith is not going to do anything different than he has done all year, and that is do the basics, get out there and block, tackle, pass, do what you have to do, but do it well. And they're the number one team in our district in defense, so this will be a very interesting ball game, Tim.
Well, the Hampton Crabbers, of course, have been ranked number one in the state throughout the entire season. They were runners-up last year, losing in the final game to T.C. Williams in a heartbreaking loss for the Crabbers. They have come back this year. They have completed an unbeaten, untied season. This is something that's not new for Mike Smith. Mike Smith has done this numerous occasions before for the Hampton Crabbers. But they have, of course, they struggled at the beginning of the season. They've had some close games that they've been involved in. The Crabbers have a common opponent with Deep Creek in the fact that they both played Green Run. How did that turn out, Bob?
Well, both teams beat Green Run, but it was not a decisive victory for either one. It was a tight contest for both of them. Hampton played Green Run the first game of the season, and Deep Creek played them the second game of the season, and that was a long time ago. Both teams are much better at their skill positions now than they were at the beginning of the season, and I look for the Deep Creek to really test Hampton's pass defense. If Hampton has a weak spot, it would be in their pass defense. But that's hard to say because the teams on this side of the river don't pass that much, Tim. So I'm sure that Deep Creek's going to test them tonight. I see the captains are going out for the flip of the coin.
That's Michael Bullock, number 2 for the Crabbers, and number 65, Carl Porter for the Hampton Crabbers. Coming across the field for Deep Creek is number 34, Donnell Harper, and number 74 is Mike Pope. Those are the co-captains for the Deep Creek Hornets, who are coached by Bill Mountjoy. Of course, the Hampton Crabbers are coached by head coach Mike Smith.
Well, we got a chance here, Tim. Let me give you the officials. The referee tonight is Kenny Self. The umpire is Jim Brown. The back judge is Dave Respect. The field judge is Gary Roby, and the head linesman is Bob Thompson. And this is a crew that is from the peninsula, so we have seen them before this year.
Coming into tonight's game, of course, the Crabbers 10-0, Deep Creek 9-1. Their only loss, a 9-6 heartbreaker to Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson on the season ended up with a 7-1-1 record, so they didn't lose to anyone that they shouldn't have lost to. Obviously, Wilson had a good team. And it looks like the Crabbers have won the toss and are going to receive, and they'll defend the goal to our right. Now, coming into the game, I started to say the temperature at game time is right around 55 degrees, and we're calling for winds this evening, 15 miles an hour, gusting to 25, and those winds are going to be coming across the field rather than into the face or behind the back of either one of the teams. So this, of course, could become a factor for a team like Deep Creek who likes to throw the football.
Right, and as they show the Hampton coaches on the screen, we talked to one of the assistant coaches on the Deep Creek's team, Jimmy Hall, who coached at Menchville and at Grambling and went in the pros, and he seems to feel that the wind coming across the field like that's not going to have any effect on the throwing game. So we'll see. If it gusts to 25, I have to feel that in my own heart that it's going to make it a little difficult passing the ball, but we'll see what happens as the game progresses.
Back deep for the Crabbers, number 10, Keith Custis, number 22, Craig Overton. And we're just about set to get this game underway as teeing the ball up for Deep Creek. Rodney Roadcap, number 64, will kick it away from his 40-yard line. And the Hampton Crabbers on the long road, hopefully, to the state championship. Deep Creek, of course, first time since 1961 that they've been involved in a playoff game. So they've got to come into this game a little bit shaky, perhaps. The ball is a short kick and it's taken at the 37-yard line, and Hampton will start from their 40-yard line. So obviously Deep Creek with a game plan here, almost an onside kick attack.
I believe that was a deliberate onside kick. It was it could have very well caught the team off guard, but it took a funny bounce and bounced to the second group of people for Hampton. So they got a 1st and 10 on the 40-yard line, which is very excellent position.
Andre Davis fielded that ball for the Crabbers, and they'll start exactly from their 40-yard line. The quarterback will be Mike Bullock. In the backfield, number 31 for the Crabbers will be Marvin Dickerson, and number 11, of course, Robbie Robinson, the district's leading rusher and scorer. And this is Robinson coming to the near side as he'll pick up about 4 yards, and instantly the Hampton Crabbers go to their bread and butter, and that's, of course, Robinson to the left.
And you notice that what they're doing is they're going to try that defense, and they'll run a split 4 and a split 6 on it. Sometimes it's almost like an 8-man line sometimes, because they got 4 linebackers, 4 down linemen and 4 linebackers, and they'll slip people up there on the line of scrimmage, and they're going to try to take the run away from Hampton and make them put the ball up. Now, Bethel tried to do that, and Hampton did well passing against Bethel.
Custis to the far side of the field, split wide. Again, Robinson gets the call across the 45 to about the 47-yard line. Robinson carrying the ball for the second time in a row. It'll bring up a 3rd down situation for the Crabbers. Coming into the game, the Crabbers averaging almost 25 points per game and giving up a measly 5.5 points per game, not even a touchdown per game average. And of course, the Crabbers did shut out 4 opponents. But early in the season, in Hampton, the first 2 games only were able to score a total of 7 points in each game, and yet were able to come away with 2 victories. So they started slowly, to say the least.
Well, that's true, but even you'll see this in the pros and in college. At the beginning of the season, the defense is much ahead of the offense, Tim.
Crabbers 3rd down and 2. Ball at the 47 of Hampton. We have movement, and we'll have to wait and see how they call this. Now, the end on the Deep Creek side, A.J. Jimerson, jumped off, but at the same time, a Hampton Crabber raised out of 3-point stance. So we'll have to see who made contact
first. That was number
first.
74, Michael McDougal for the Hampton Crabbers, and looks like he will be called for moving first, Tim.
Needless to say, football fans know the defense can cross that line as long as they don't make contact or the ball isn't snapped. Well, once you attain that 3-point stance on offense, you can't do anything but stay where you are.
Well, Tim, I'm going to have to correct you on that. In high school ball, you can't go into the neutral zone, even if you're on defense. If you go into the neutral zone, it's an automatic 5-yard penalty against the defense. They can move, but they can't get into the neutral zone.
Okay, and by reminding me about high school rules, don't forget we have 12-minute quarters for tonight's game. 3rd down and 7. On the draw play, Robinson to the near side, across midfield to the 47-yard line, a 1st down for the Crabbers.
Oh, that was a well-executed play. They were looking pass all the way, and it was just, like you called it, it was a deep drop, and he just handed the ball off on a draw play to Robbie Robinson. He ran to daylight.
So Robinson brings the ball down to the Deep Creek 47-yard line. 9 minutes and 46 seconds. The clock moving here in the first quarter. Hampton with the first possession of the ball game. We have no score as Bullock brings them up out of the eye. Again, Robinson gets the call left side. He's tackled there by number 37, Reggie Riddick of Deep Creek, after a gain of about 1 yard. So far it's been Robinson against Deep Creek.
And it's very surprising to watch everything is being run to the left. The last game we was watching, Mike Smith was running everything to the right. Most teams are right-handed because the quarterback is right-handed, and tonight they have only run one play so far to the right-hand side. So Mike is evidently aware of tendencies, so he's trying to throw the defense off a little bit.
2 wide receivers to the near side. This is Overton. The handoff again inside, and a scramble for the football. It may have popped loose momentarily, however, they say Hampton still has the football, and once again, Robinson carries the football. Now, he averages carrying the ball 20 times per ball game and a little over 105 yards per game. He's already carried the ball 7 times, and we haven't even gotten through the first 4 minutes.
That's right. He has scored 20 touchdowns, as you see on the screen this year, and because he is the most prolific runner that Hampton's got, but they have a pretty good backup that can come in and relieve him and give him some rest as the game goes on.
3rd down and 8 for the Crabbers. Ball at the 44 of Deep Creek. Bullock looking to pass. Over the middle, has a man open, completes the pass to the 30 down to the 26.
That was number 10 for the Hampton Crabbers, Keith Custis, and he was wide open. I mean, he wouldn't have found a seam down there, and it was the closest man to him was about 7 yards away, Tim.
Michael Bullock threaded the needle that time. As we saw him do against Bethel, he had a very good game passing against Bethel. He continually found a man that we instantly learned to like the other day, a game against William Jeter. We haven't seen him go to Jeter yet. Of course, that's only his first pass, but look for Jeter to be open sometime this evening.
Yeah, he's one of his favorite receivers.
This is Robinson breaking across the middle. One man tripped him up, or he might have been gone. As he gets down close to the 20-yard line, they're going to mark it at the 21. So the Crabbers moving the football right now, and that was Robinson carrying for about 6. It'll be 2nd down and 4 for the Crabbers. You know, just to enlighten some of the people who may not understand exactly why Hampton, who is ranked number 1 in the state, is actually ranked number 2 here in the Eastern Regionals because of a coin flip.
I'll get to that in just a second. Let's go ahead and see what happens.
2nd down and 4. Once again, Robinson still on his feet. He's going to score!
That was a tremendous individual run. He was hit by 2 or 3 different people, Tim, and just kept right on going. And nothing will make you feel any better than take the ball and drive at 60 yards. He got good field position on their own 40, but they drove it 60 yards. They had one 3rd down situation that was a long situation, but that was tremendous.
The kick is up by Leneuve, and the kick is good. So the Hampton Crabbers jump out to a 7-0 lead here in the first quarter as Robbie Robinson, as he's done 20 other times this season, scores from the 21-yard line, and he puts Hampton on top 7-0 with the extra point. Leneuve, by the way, has 26 extra points on his season, so he's not exactly having a bad year himself.
No, he isn't. To get back to that question you asked me about why is Hampton ranked number 2 here, the power rating is a system that the Virginia High School League uses to rate the different teams according to the opponents they've played and the teams that they have beat in their position. And it came out that Kempsville and Hampton had identical power ratings, so they had to do a blind draw, and Hampton did not win the blind draw. Therefore, they are rated 2, even though they're ranked number 1 in the state.
And as a fan of obvious sorts, technically then, if you figure all these things out, I love statistics, if that be the case, then there should be a tie in the rankings between Kempsville and Hampton, but Kempsville, in fact, is ranked number 6. The kickoff is taken at the 11-yard line. This is Stukes out to the 22, where he's pushed back by a whole gang of tacklers from the Hampton Crabbers.
There were 9 people around him, Tim, 9 Crabbers around him.
We're going to see, of course, the Hampton Crabbers are keyed up, obviously, as Deep Creek is. I don't know, I'm curious to find out how much of an effect being in a playoff game for the first time in, 26 years, I guess it was 1961, 25 years since Deep Creek was even in a playoff game. So this has got to be a little tense for some of the Deep Creek players as well.
Well, it is. They're carrying some pride from their own district over too, Tim, which is it's going to drain. It's going to tell on them a little bit, but they'll make a good game out of it.
This is Perry pitching back to Donnell Harper, their leading rusher, and Harper picks up about 7. Deep Creek, a very balanced attack. As you mentioned, Bob, Deep Creek quarterback Harper, checked that Perry had almost 1,000 yards on the season, so obviously 100 yards per game passing. They do a little more passing. There you see the statistics on your screen. And then Donnell Harper, of course, rushing for an average of 87 yards per game. So I kind of see the running attack and the passing attack being very similar for both schools.
Yeah, they are, but Hampton has a little more variety in running backs than what Deep Creek has. They have just one running back, and they call it a one-back offense. And they'll put the ball up about 60% of the time. They'll pass 60% and run 40%. And I'm anxious to see, because if there is any wind at all, it's in their face right now. See if that'll affect them in the passing game.
So on the carry was Donnell Harper. He gets the first down for Deep Creek. They've marked the ball at the 33-yard line, 1st and 10 for Deep Creek. To the near side comes number 27, William Stukes. And the lone setback is Harper. On the fake reverse, Harper still got the football. He's got some running room. He's got one man to beat. And that one man, Craig Overton, will get him out of bounds. We have a flag on the play. And that was in the area of the tackle, although I don't see it might have been a clip downfield. I don't see anything wrong with the tackle. I didn't really see any face mask or anything.
That'd be the only thing that it looked like it might be is a face mask, and that's a preliminary signal that he did get a face mask as he made the tackle. That was a gutsy call because it sure looked like it was going to be man in motion with the reverse all the way.
So Deep Creek takes it downfield. They're all the way down to the Hampton 15, getting benefit of the face mask call. And Craig Overton saved the touchdown as Harper was heading for 6 on a very fine play. They faked that reverse, and Harper kept the football and came around to the wide side. So the Hampton defense now is called upon to stiffen here. The Deep Creek Hornets threatening on the Hampton 15. Quarterback is Darren Perry. Pitches back to Harper. Harper wants to get around the corner. Slips as he gets to the line of scrimmage and will get no gain on the play. Over there defending for the Crabbers was number 9, Jerome Davis, and number 1, Michael Alexander.
It's really interesting to see what they do here if they will continue to run the ball. They have not put the ball up in the air at all, and I'm sure Hampton is looking for the pass, but they have got down here by running the ball, and they've had good success so far. I want to see if they continue. I have a feeling that he's going to put that ball up pretty soon, Tim.
Second down and 11, and as you called it, he's got it out there in the flat for Stooks. He's open, and he's got the football inside the 5.
He's down to about the 3-yard line, and that was just a nice effort on Stooks' part because he caught the ball and broke one tackle. Almost took it into the end zone.
First and goal for Deep Creek. They've got the ball at the 3-yard line. Their first pass, a completed pass from the 21 down to the 3. An 18-yard gain for the Hornets. So they are threatening very seriously now. The Hampton defense is going to have to stiffen to hold Deep Creek out of the end zone. This is Harper into the middle of the line. He will be tackled by about 7 or 8 Crabbers. So that one didn't work as Harper went to the left side with no success. And the Crabbers actually end up with a 1-yard, or rather Deep Creek ends up with a 1-yard loss on the play.
Well, that makes it a second down and goal from the 4. It's going to be a little tougher to run up the middle or even off tackle on Hampton this close to the end zone because the people up there are so close. I look for them to either go outside or use a little hitch pass or a little angle pass across the center.
On the draw play, this is Harper trying to turn the corner, and he's going to be tackled at the 4-yard line. So the Hampton defense, in the form of, again, Craig Overton, the man who saved that touchdown earlier.
And that was a game-saving touchdown again because that young man was on the outside, and had not Craig got him, he would have been in the end zone. That was a beautiful tackle by Craig Overton. That's 2 that he has saved so far. You see it's 3rd and goal.
The Hornets want to discuss this 3rd and goal because, of course, this is a very important play at this point. The Hampton Crabbers, if you just joined us, of course, the Crabbers took the opening kickoff and went 60 yards, capped with a 21-yard scamper up the middle by Robbie Robinson for his 21st touchdown of the season. The extra point try was good by Lenove, and that's where we stand right now with 3 minutes and 41 seconds remaining here in the first quarter. The Hornets of Deep Creek have taken their drive from the 15-yard line approximately, and they've driven all the way down to the 4.5-yard line of Hampton. So the Deep Creek Hornets faced with a big 3rd and goal situation. As you mentioned, Bob, of course, anyone who watches football on a regular basis knows that you have a lot more difficulty running when you get inside the 10 because, of course, the deep backs don't have to drop back as far. They don't have to necessarily guard as close.
Right, they're closer to the line of scrimmage, so everything is shorter. So, you know, and it makes a problem when you come to pass the ball, too, because you don't have as much room to maneuver. So I'm anxious to see what Coach Montjoy has called, whether he's going to go with the run or with the pass. Either one of them is Mike Smith has got to have a defense that's going to be able to stop them both, but he can get some good individual effort from people like he did with Greg Overton on the 2 times he stopped a short touchdown. Looks like they may stop him here.
3rd down and goal from the 4. Darren Perry, the quarterback for Deep Creek. The lone back is Harper. Perry rolls to his left, looks in the end zone, throws it up, and it's a touchdown.
That was number 80 that got the ball. Number 80 is, that's Jimerson.
A.J.
Jimerson, and he went high in the air to get that ball. He just went right over the top of everybody. That was a gutsy call. Well, the young man is 6'2", so he went over the top of the defensive backs who was under 6 foot.
Well, I understand from what I've read, and of course we didn't really get an opportunity to learn much about Deep Creek until this week. He is one of the largest players on the team. The Deep Creek is not a very large team at all, and Jimerson is one of the men that they key on. He's one of their leading receivers, and we'll look for him to do lots of things tonight. On to try the extra point for the Deep Creek Hornets will be David Robinson, and it's good. So after we've played about 8 minutes, the Crabbers and the Hornets are tied at 7, as we've got a football game, Bob.
We do that. It didn't take them long to take that ball down the field. Hampton, the biggest gain they had was the touchdown run of 21 yards, but they had a big play in themselves on that fake reverse that picked up a lot of yardage, and then they had, of course, the face mask on top of that, Tim. But Hampton's in the dogfight. This isn't going to be an easy one. The Hornets aren't going to roll over for them.
The other 3A regional game tonight, of course, pits Kempsville against Lake Taylor, who we had thought, and we apologize for anything we may have done to mislead you during the Hampton-Bethel game. We were told that Lake Taylor would be the opponent for the Crabbers. And then, of course, after that power rating tie and the flip of the coin, it turned out that Hampton, in fact, was going to play Deep Creek, of course. So it may lend to some of the difficulty Hampton may have had as far as scouting this team. They may have been anticipating who they were going to play.
Yeah, I'm sure that they had films on Lake Taylor.
Again, a short kick, not really an onside try, and taking it at the 25 and losing his footing for the Crabbers was Todd Summers, number 42. And he had some running room, and he's upset, of course, but it really wasn't anything he could do about it. Right in the middle of the field there, the playing field is a little bit slick. It's where some of the mud has come up during some of the games that were played during the wetter part of the season. Yeah, so you've seen a couple of times they've slipped in that general area.
There's no grass on the field at all in the center part of the field, and if you're going to slip, that's where you're going to slip. They just can't get a good grip. Just heard a score of 7-0 Lake Taylor over Kempsville on the other side. So
this is Robinson again as he struggles to about the 28-yard line. Robbie Robinson, who has been the ball carrier of record here for the Crabbers so far. They have not given the ball to anyone else. Michael Bullock is not a bad running quarterback, so we may see him just to cross up the defense once in a while, carry the ball himself.
That's true. He has carried the ball on numerous occasions this year, but in a game like this, you're going to go with your bread and butter. And I know what Mike Smith has told his staff. He said they're going to have to stop Robbie to stop us.
This is Robinson breaking through. What a nice move to get outside. He's still going at 45 to the 47-yard line. Robinson breaks it wide open to the 47, so Hampton again is back in business.
Oh, I tell you, the fans are very fortunate to see a runner in the caliber of Robbie Robinson. There was 2 or 3 different times that it looked like he was going to be tackled, and he just did a neat little juke step or whatever you want to call it, changing gears or whatever, but that was a tremendous run.
He made a real nice move to get to the outside. It looked like he was going to be kept inside for a moment there and made a nice, as you said, a juke step. He got to the outside and picked up good yardage. So the Crabbers 1st and 10 from their 47. Fake pitch down the sidelines. He's got Overton open, and Overton totally knocks down a cameraman on the sideline. That's our man, and I hope Overton is all right, as he is shaken up, and as well as I think that's our cameraman down there, is a videotape man. And Overton is going to bounce up. He's all right.
That ball was out of bounds, and he wasn't paying any attention with the sideline. He was going to catch the ball, and had that ball been in bounds, in playable bounds, he would have had a touchdown. That was a good call. That was just a straight, what they call a fly pattern that he just took off and beat his defensive man, and that was a well-thrown ball. Just it was out of bounds. It was the only problem with it, Tim.
I don't believe that is our man after all.
I don't know who he is, but
he felt something that time. If he was looking through his viewfinder, he got a real jolt. And Overton ran right into him, so I'm hopeful that both of them are okay. And Overton did come back on his own, so it was an incomplete. And movement again.
That'll loosen up your defense a little bit when you throw a ball like that. But this is going to bring up a 2nd and 15 instead of a 2nd and 10. Hampton's, that was a defensive end. It was the last time they had a penalty was on a defensive end, offensive end jumping before the snap of the ball.
I believe that was number 85, Drew Berggren, who left a little early, and the Crabbers called for their 2nd illegal motion and their 3rd penalty of the game. So far, they have made all the mistakes, and the Deep Creek Hornets, of course, have not. They On that last drive that Deep Creek scored on, they didn't really get stopped at all.
No, they didn't. The only time that they had any trouble moving the ball was when they got down there inside the 10-yard line, and we alluded to why that was.
2 minutes and 10 seconds left here in the first quarter, all tied at 7. Crabbers with the football, 2nd down and 15. Inside handoff goes to Robinson, tries to get away from one man, crosses the 45, close to the 46. And he gets back some of the yardage they lost on the penalty, but he only gets about 4. So the Crabbers now 3rd down.
Right, Tim. This is, excuse me for interrupting you, this is definitely a passing situation. And one time before when they was in this situation, remember they'd use the draw play. I wonder if I'm sure that we have a timeout to play, but I'm sure the Coach Mountjoy remembers that last time that they had a long and they went with the draw play. So I'm wondering what Mike Smith is going to call, because the draw play, that's a long way. He's got 13 yards to go for the first down.
Well, that, as you said, it's definitely a passing down. A minute 44 remaining here in the first quarter. The Crabbers 7, Deep Creek 7. And just a reminder that this game is being brought to you by Channel 29 and may not be duplicated or transmitted in any form without express permission of Channel 29 and the Group 3A Regional Playoffs Committee. The Crabbers, of course, runners-up in the state last year, losing a tough ball game to T.C. Williams. And the Crabbers hopeful to get back in the position to win the state championship, but it looks like they've got a real tough game on their hands right now. I'm very impressed with what I've seen so far.
Well, I am too. I tell you, Deep Creek is might be the underdog in this game, and as Coach Jimmy Hall was talking to us earlier, he says we feel like we've been the dog all year long, meaning that they've been the underdog in just about every game that they have played until towards the end of the season. And he says this is nothing new to us, but he says we have got a good team, good athletes, and they're very mental positive attitude.
Okay, the Crabbers have come back up to the line now, 3rd and 13. Michael Bullock, the quarterback. We have a flag down, and once again, this time it appears that Overton on the near side may have left a little early. So the Crabbers, who aren't necessarily known for making mistakes, are making some definite mental errors right now, unforced errors. And I believe the flag was thrown before the ball was snapped, so they're going to mark off 5 more. So now it makes the call even that much more difficult, as instead of 3rd and 13, now it's 3rd down and 18. So the Crabbers are digging themselves in a hole on this particular drive.
And that's every penalty so far tonight has been against the Crabbers, and they can't make mistakes like that, Tim, and win this ball game. They're going to have to minimize their mistakes.
You might have thought that the team that would come in here and be a little bit prone to jump and that type of thing would be the Deep Creek Hornets with their lack of playoff experience. But so far it's Hampton who's been making the mental mistakes. And 3rd down and 18.
It seems like they're just anxious. They want to play a little more emotion.
Bullock with some time, going long over the head of Craig Overton and intercepted by the Hornets at the 24-yard line. That ball was just basically thrown up for grabs, and in essence, had it been incomplete, it would have been 4th down, so you in essence really end up with the same thing as a punt.
That's not a bad play, because I don't know, their punter this year is done a good job, but that's just like a punt.
Kevin Barnett, number 24, for the Hornets, made that interception, and as you said, it would have been 4th down had the ball been incomplete. It was not going to be caught by one of the Crabbers. It was well overthrown over the intended receiver, Overton. So at the 23-yard line, the Hornets have the ball for the 2nd time. Last time they had it, and the only time they've had it, they drove all the way down the field to tie the score. So we'll see now whether the Hampton defense has made some adjustments. This is, again, the handoff to Harper as he crosses the 25 to about the 26-yard line.
They will do that a lot. They will put a back in motion, and sometimes they'll throw to him. And one time we saw that they used the fake reverse on him, and then run a play off of it. There was running back. Darnell Harper does a good job as any back in the in Eastern District this year of finding an open hole.
40 seconds remaining here in the first quarter. Darren Perry, the quarterback, pitches back, fakes the handoff again as Harper gets it, and this time the Crabbers were not fooled as he barely got back to the line of scrimmage. So again, the fake reverse, but the Crabbers stayed home this time, and Harper was stopped for no gain.
What made that fake reverse go the first time is that there was obvious that that's what it was going to be. It made it look so obvious. That's why everybody from the Hampton team went for it except Overton. This time, everybody stayed home. They have certain responsibilities on defense, and they got to stay home. I don't know if they'll get this play off or not, Tim.
We're down to 2 seconds, 1 second, and they will not. They will not get the play off. So we've played 12 minutes of the first Eastern District Regional playoff between the Crabbers and the Deep Creek Hornets. And we're all tied at 7 as the second quarter will be underway in just a moment. I wanted to allude to the fact, Bob, if I may, that Deep Creek, of course, finished first in the Southeastern District ahead of Wilson and Indian River with a 9-1 record. Their only loss to Wilson, that being a 9-6 loss. But Deep Creek has some individuals that are right up there in the leaders with the statistics. Of course, Harper, their main running back, the one that they will give the ball to exclusively, comes into the game averaging 4.2 yards every time he carries the football, and he, no slouch in the scoring department, had 14 touchdowns on the season. So he was the leading scorer for his team, and they averaged about 19 points per game on offense. So this is pretty much a game between teams that are used to scoring with the football.
It sure is. They have given up an average of a little over 11 points a game, where Hampton has given up less than a touchdown a game. So it's interesting to see if Hampton's defense can continue to do what they want. They're going to have to hold them to these 7 points.
Ball is resting on the 27-yard line. It'll be third down for Deep Creek. Third down and a long 6. Hampton, of course, the winner of this game, whether it be Hampton or Deep Creek, will advance to the regional finals, and that'll be against the winner of the game between Lake Taylor and Kempsville. Now, if that game is played at Kempsville, and if Hampton should win, it'll be played at Kempsville. If Hampton wins and Kempsville loses, the game would be played at Todd Stadium next weekend. And up to the line of scrimmage, that's the third timeout here in the first half for Deep Creek, as they have called 3, so they're going to be short on timeouts if they should need one later here in the first half.
I don't exactly know what he was doing. I can't tell whether the quarterback was looking for a particular situation on defense, or if he was going to try to draw the Hampton Crabbers off on a staggered count. One of the Hampton linebackers made a move, and then didn't nobody else move, so he called timeout. As you can see on the screen, Hampton has won 4 state championships. Mike Smith has done just a tremendous job over there with Hampton. He takes his young men to come into him, and he builds a lot of character with them, but he also shows them how to win. They've got a tremendous winning tradition over at Hampton.
Of course, the Crabbers finished 10-0. Just to give you a quick rundown on the final standings for the Peninsula District, Menchville finished up 6-2 in the district, ahead of Warwick and Lafayette and Denby, who all tied at third with 5-3 in the district. Menchville and Warwick ended up 7-3, Lafayette 6-4, and Warwick had a terrible start to their season, or they might have very well been in the playoffs, because they had a very strong team, from what I understand.
They had a real strong team, and not only strong, but they were very big. They were the biggest team that I have seen this year. Mike Smith told me that team made his team do things that they didn't want to do at that point in the season.
Of course, Hampton beat Warwick 13-6 as Perry completes the pass over the middle for Stukes, and he is grabbed by the shirt tail by, once again, Craig Overton. Credit him with 3 touchdown-saving tackles, because Mr. Stukes was heading for the end zone if he hadn't gotten a hold of that shirt.
Well, I'll tell you what, you got to be impressed by watching Terry throw that ball. He has a tremendous arm, and he's just a junior, and he will be back next year for the Hornets. But he threw that ball like he knew where that split end was going to be, that flanker was going to be.
A first down for Deep Creek, as they are just shy of the midfield line now. They've marked it at the 48. 1st and 10 for Deep Creek. Perry drops back, has time, slips, falls, and the play will be blown dead at that point as his knee touched the ground at the 42. So an unfortunate play for Deep Creek, in that no one really had grabbed a hold of Perry yet, but his knee touched the ground, and the official, of course, very quick to blow the whistle and stop the play. So a loss on that play of about 8 yards.
They used, they had 2 men out on a pass pattern. A.D. Jamerson was going on a fly pattern down the far sideline, and the young man that just caught the ball a minute ago, Stooks, was going across the middle, but both of them were covered by Hampton Crabbers. But the way this young man, Terry, is throwing the ball, he probably could have got it close to getting it into him.
2nd down and 17. Again, Perry wants to pass, throws the ball on the near sidelines, and they're going to blow it dead where his knee was on the ground as he made the reception. Again, an unfortunate play. This time, Chris Copeland, the man on the receiving end, and I don't believe, I'm not sure of my stats, but I don't believe Perry's thrown an incomplete pass yet.
No, every pass he's thrown so far tonight, Tim, has been completed. That's twice, though, that they have slipped down and their knee has hit the ground, which, of course, blows the ball dead. It's not like in the pros where you can get up and run, but once your knee touches, that's it. But I got a 3rd and, what is it, about 14.
Had he not caught the ball with his knee, he can go down to his knee and then catch the ball as he's up, but he caught it while his knee was on the ground, and, of course, that immediately stops the play. So 3rd and 14, as you said, an obvious passing play. Pressure this time for the first time on Perry. He gets away from one would-be tackler, and he's going to be dragged out as he throws the ball away, and they're going to throw a flag on the play.
That was an obvious call. He was in the grasp of the guy being thrown down, and he just flipped the ball out there. And that is really going to send him back because the penalty will be marked off from where he went down, and that is about at the 30, looked like about the 33-yard line, and of course that should be a loss of down.
Well, that goes to inexperience, I guess you can say, because he should have just realized he had to eat the football and taken his loss. Now they're going to tack on a penalty on top of that, and of course the loss of down. So it'll be 4th down for Deep Creek, and of course they'll mark the penalty off.
But they're not going to mark the penalty off. The referee picked up the ball and picked up the flag and shook it like there was no penalty. I don't understand it because that was a definitely intentional grounding of the ball, and he's going to say it was an incompleted pass. And I don't understand that call at all.
Well, you might have heard the boos on this side, and I might add mine in there. Well, they're going to mark it off now. I wish they'd make up their minds. It's from the line of scrimmage. So
obviously, I don't understand what's going on, but I know that's got to make Hampton a little bit better because there's no way that should not have been a penalty, Tim.
Well, they've given them a personal foul, unsportsmanlike conduct.
Okay.
So in any event, it backs them up. Not nearly as far as it might have, but nonetheless, it's 4th down with the ball just shy of the 30-yard line. So we'll see the punter on the field now. And this will be that same running back, Donnell Harper. So you have to wonder if he's the threat sometime in the game to run with the ball if he wants to. A low kick, and it takes a roll to the 47-yard line. So Hampton will have excellent field position.
I don't know what his statistics are. Excuse me for interrupting you on punting, Tim. I know you have it somewhere over there.
Well, he averaged 34 yards a kick, and of course he only picked up about 25 yards on that one.
That was a poor kick, but look at the field position the Hampton's got. If you remember at the beginning of the game when Hampton started, they started from their own 40. Now they're starting from their own 47. So maybe this is indicative to Hampton. They can take the ball down and score on this drive.
Wide to the left is Berggren. To the near side comes Craig Overton. This is Robbie Robinson, tripped up as he gets to the 50-yard line. The man reaching in there and doing that tripping was Ricky DeBerry, number 85. And we've got a sign in front of us here that keeps blowing up in our faces.
Well, I tell you, it's not affecting the camera crew. They're doing a super job. You see some real good close-ups tonight. But this is a beautiful night for football. It's a football night. The temperature's in the 50s, and you can see on the other side that there's a big crowd, and it's just a tremendous crowd for the high school football.
Pick up of 4 yards for Robinson. He was looking like he was going to get more than that, but he, as I said, got tripped up as he crossed the 50. This is Robinson right side as he is again tackled by the same number 85, Ricky DeBerry. And the Crabbers have the ball 3rd down now, 3rd and about 3, depending exactly where they mark it. About 3.5 yards to go for the 1st down. So Hampton, needless to say, would like very much to keep this drive alive. 8:30 remaining in the first half, and we're tied at 7.
Well, this is a big down for Hampton, of course. Any 3rd down situation is, but this is one where you've got about 3 or 4 yards, and it's a long for a run, but it's if you haven't been passing the ball as much as Hampton, been relying on the run, that's what you look for.
Pitch back to Robinson. Right side carry. Has one man to get by. He gets all the way down to the 32-yard line, and that'll be a first down for the Crabbers.
Well, I tell you what, they are doing a super job at the point of attack on that offensive line. They are just blowing people out and opening up a hole for Robbie. And then when Robbie gets through the line of scrimmage, he has got such a tremendous sense about him when he's running the ball that it makes it hard for one-on-one to tackle him, Tim.
Well, those statistics, first time in a long time that a running back on the peninsula has gone over 1,000 yards. Of course, when you think of Hampton, you think of people like Alex Hill, Woodrow Wilson, as recent as Lumpkins last year, of
That's
course,
right.
an excellent running back. So the Crabbers have had a good running system throughout the years, and they've really not had that much of a passing attack over the years. First down for the Crabbers at the 31. Again, pitch back goes to Robinson. Right side, he lost his footing as he got to about the 28-yard line. And Robinson's going to need a good breather when he gets in the locker room at halftime because he's done a lot of ball carrying.
Well, he's carried the ball 90% of the time tonight. There's no doubt about Hampton's plan of attack that we're going to give the ball to Robbie and we're going to execute on the line of scrimmage and we're going to block and open up the holes for him and get him in the secondary. And one or two blocks and at the point of contact at the line of scrimmage will open him up and he will get another long run in for a touchdown like he did in the first quarter.
Pickup of 3 for Robinson, second down and 7. Again, Robinson spinning away from one tackler, still on his feet, and he will be finally taken at the 26-yard line. Again, over there on the stop was 25, Chris Copeland, who is one of those two-way players for the Hornets.
Robbie isn't really a big running back. He's only 5'8", 165, but they never did get him down on the ground that time. He was hit by 4 or 5 different people. He's got, as the coaches say, he's got good wheels. He's got good legs, good strong legs, and he does a good job.
A couple of other players that are going to be tired after the evening is over is Custis and Overton. As they relay the plays back and forth on each ensuing play, they bring the plays in from the sideline. So you'll see Custis and Overton, if you watch 22 and 10, constantly coming on and off the field. And this time, Michael Bullock looks at the defense and sees something he's concerned about, and he'll call a quick timeout for the Crabbers. So Hampton will take a timeout. We've got 6:23 remaining here in the first half, and we're tied at 7. Just to recap the scoring for you very quickly, Hampton got the kickoff at their 40-yard line and drove all the way down the field. Took about 5 minutes to do so with 7:18 remaining in the first quarter. Robbie Robinson scored from 21 yards out. Leneuve kicked the extra point, and the Crabbers led by the score of 7-0. And then with 3:36 remaining in the first quarter, A.J. Jimerson took a 4-yard pass from Darren Perry, and that made the score 7-6, and they completed the extra point try, and the Crabbers and the Hornets have been tied ever since at 7-7, and it's been a very tight ball game from the very beginning.
I believe what was happening that time was Overton, not Overton, I'm sorry, the Hampton quarterback Bullock was doing a cadence count change at the line of scrimmage, trying to draw the Deep Creek off like they had tried to draw Hampton off, and he couldn't do it, so he called a timeout, and of course that makes the defense feel real good that they stayed home and didn't jump across that line of scrimmage. But we have a real important third down situation here.
Third down and 5. Ball just shy of the 25 of Deep Creek. Out of the eye, this is Dickerson directly behind Bullock and Robinson. Passing, looking for Overton. Overton has the football!
And he's got a touchdown. All right, that was just a super individual effort. And if they're going to give away a game ball tonight, they definitely think of number 22, Craig Overton. He saved about 3 touchdown runs defensively and just did a good job of outfighting the defensive back that time to get that ball and score.
Well, the Crabbers took the kickoff that punt at their 47 and drove down for the score. And we have flags down as the extra point try was blocked, but there was a penalty called before the play began. So Hampton, regardless of who the penalty is against, will have another try. And of course the indication is it's offsides against Deep Creek.
The young man that blocked the punt was the one who was offside. He jumped across and was across that line of scrimmage by the time the ball got to the holder.
It does help if you can leave a couple of seconds early, so that will definitely increase your ability to block the extra point try. So offsides is the call. Of course, it's declined And the Crabbers will, again, try with Lanuve out of the hold of Michael Bullock. Again, it looked like the Deep Creek team may have left a little early, but this time it is of no matter. No flag, but nonetheless an extra point completion for the Crabbers. So the Crabbers have driven down the field, and on the strong passing arm, we've seen two very fine quarterbacks throwing that football tonight.
We sure have. Bullock hasn't had the completion rate that Terry has, but when it came to a situation like that last time, 3rd down and 5, and I know everybody was looking for the run because that's what they have been doing all night, and he found Overton in the right flat, and they made a good catch for the touchdown. But both quarterbacks are throwing the ball well, so evidently the wind has not had effect at all upon the passing game.
So the Crabbers, leading by the score of 14-7, will be kicking off. 6:16 remaining here in the first half, as we've seen both teams having no difficulty moving the football. Of course, with both teams having good defenses, Hampton not allowing but 5.5 points a game, and have already given up 7 points to the Deep Creek Hornets. And the Crabbers will be kicking off. This will be an onside try, as this ball is going to go about 10 yards. It's loose, and a scramble for the football. It appears that Deep Creek will have possession, as fielding the ball for Deep Creek was number 70, Fred Pettis. Had a little difficulty with it, but dropped on the ball at the 41.
Well, he's not a young man that you want to get the ball to. He's a tackle, and he's not one that usually handles the ball at all. So that was a nice kick by Hampton, and almost a very costly situation for the Deep Creek. Now let's see if Hampton can get their defense together and stop Deep Creek.
It's purely conjecture on my part, but it appears that neither one of the teams really want to kick deep to the other team to possibly avoid a run back.
That could very well be. Both of them have good, strong running backs, and they want to stop any long run situation. We've seen Hampton do that throughout the season.
In motion was Jack Wilkins, number 87, and we've got whistles on the field. We'll have to wait and see what they're going to call. It appears to be a penalty going to be called against Deep Creek, illegal procedure. So that'll be their first penalty, first time they've made any mistakes.
That is the second. Remember, penalty? They had the penalty when the guy on the extra point.
That's right.
And also, if we remember the one where he was illegal grounding the ball, it was unsportsmanlike conduct. So they have had 3 penalties against them, but it was all Hampton penalties there at the beginning. But it's starting to even up a little bit now. They got a 1st and 15.
So backing them up to the 36-yard line. Deep Creek will bring them up. Darren Perry, the quarterback. Donnell Harper, the lone setback. Still with the football as Perry wants to throw the ball. Now reverses his field, trying to get away from some Hampton Crabbers. Has no one to throw it to. He's going to run with it. And he's fast. He's taken out of bounds as he crosses the 40-yard line, but he showed a very fine burst of speed. He looked like he was very indecisive as to where he was going for a moment.
He didn't know which direction he was going, and he almost slipped and his knee touched, but it would come very close to touching down there. But he did pick up a few yards on that play. Almost got back to 5 yards that they got on the illegal procedure.
So Perry shows his running abilities as well as his passing abilities.
Well, that's got to say a lot for the Hampton defense, because they evidently did a good job on the secondary and had all his receivers covered.
An interesting graphic there in the entire eastern region. Only 2 teams have scored more points than Hampton, yet Hampton is more known for their defense. On the draw play to Harper. Harper crossed the 40 to about the 43-yard line. Over there for the Crabbers, 65, Carl Porter, along with number 64, Randy Pearson, and number 62. Let's give them all a little credit here. Hurley Miles for the Crabbers as they gang tackled. Brings up a 3rd down and 12.
At least we got a monitor in front of us tonight, Tim. All of a sudden there's a big sign gets in front of our face.
Wind might not be bothering the quarterbacks, but it's sure playing havoc with the announcers. 3rd down and 12. Check that, 3rd down and 8 for Deep Creek. Fake the draw play. Perry has time, completes the pass, and a late flag thrown in the backfield
And that could very well be a holding flag. But it was late, like you said. It came after the guy had caught the ball down the field.
And it's going to be against Deep Creek. So you're going to see the holding call as you called it, Bob. And that will negate a fine completion to Chris Copeland. And still, again, my memory, which failed me once already on the number of penalties, if it serves me correctly, it still hasn't thrown an incomplete pass. But that one, or if he has, only one. But that one was completed, but it'll be wiped out by the holding call. So interestingly enough, the flag really didn't get thrown until after the play had been completed. So obviously the official had a little difficulty getting his flag out of his pocket.
Well, that and maybe it was the situation or the line of sight that he was in. He didn't see the man until he turned to see the holding penalty.
So it's third down and about 23 for the Hornets. A very obvious passing situation. Perry completes it. Same man near side. Chris Copeland still on his feet. And he gets to the 40-yard line as several Crabbers had a shot at him. But Copeland, very fast, was finally dragged down at the 40-yard line, and give credit on the tackle to Sherwood Jones, number 70.
That looked like it was just a short pass that they were just going to try to get the ball down the field and give him a little running room. But there was about 2 or 3 Crabbers that missed good opportunities of tackling him for a very small gain, and he ended up gaining about almost 10 yards.
So it's fourth down now at the 40-yard line, 4th and 11. So we'll see Harper in the deep punt formation. He gets the kick away. It's going to be watched by Overton, and he'll now come up and take it at the 37, 40, 45, up to the 47. So Overton picked his spot and waited for the ball to bounce one time, and then got ahead of steam and ended up with about 12, 13 yards.
And that's what coaches tell the players don't do. Don't let the ball bounce. Don't let it hit the ground. And in that particular instance, it was the right thing to do, because it was really a short kick. But again, look at the field position Hampton has. They started from the 40 and scored, started from the 47 and scored, and again to start, what's this, a 48, Tim?
Travers having good field position. Near side comes Overton, Dickerson, and Robinson in the backfield. Delayed handoff goes to Robinson, across the 50, down to the 45. So the Crabbers pick up about 7 yards on the play.
2 or 3 times it looks like a Deep Creek defender could tackle Robbie Robinson, but he just is a strong runner for the size of his size of 5'8", 165. I tend to believe that he's a lot stronger than 165 pounds would indicate.
The Crabbers, 2nd down and 3. 2 wide receivers to the near side as we are looking at William Jeter. For the first time I've noticed him in the ball game tonight. He's over there with Custis. The handoff, however, goes to Robinson, and Robinson is stacked up for little or no gain. And in on the stop for Deep Creek was number 72, Ron Street. You're going to have someone hang out of the booth here in order to strap that sign down for us.
It isn't going to be me, I'll tell you that.
Me with my... With my fear of heights, you don't have to worry about that either.
Well, that makes 2 of us. I'm glad we're caged in here. I'd hate to be sitting this high and not have some good solid footing underneath me.
2:05, the clock moving. Time remaining here in the first half. Hampton with the football at the 45. This is Robinson breaking through. Down to the 20, the 30, all the way down to the 22-yard line.
You can see when that young man gets through the line of scrimmage, he really goes fast. He busted through the line of scrimmage. There was tremendous blocking at the point of contact for that offensive line. And once he was through there, it looked like he was shot out of a cannon. He was really moving.
So Robinson picks up fine yardage down to the 22-yard line. And Robinson has Hampton once again in a threatening score position as they're down to the 22 of Deep Creek.
Well, I've got some unofficial statistics. He's already carried the ball 14 times for over 100 yards, Tim.
Make that 15 and add about 2 more yards to that as he crosses the 20 down to the 19, or actually they're going to mark it at the 18, and he runs out of bounds and stops the clock, which is one of the things I'm sure Coach Smith wanted the Hampton team to do without having to use one of their timeouts.
If Hampton can go in with a 21-7 lead, that will sure give them a whole lot of confidence coming back the second half. They're going to have to kick off to start the second half, so it would be nice to be able to kick off with a 21-7 lead.
Of course, Deep Creek undoubtedly will have a lot to say about that particular aspect of the game. 2nd down and 6 as 4 yards for Robinson. Robinson again inside the 10. Inside the 5. Touchdown.
That young man is amazing. And there's a flag thrown afterwards. It looks like it may have been a late hit or a pull on a face mask or something, but there was a flag thrown. But you got to take your hat off to Robbie Robinson. He does a whole lot on his own after the offensive line opens up a hole for him, Tim.
And from the obvious jubilation of the Hampton players coming to the near sideline, the penalty is going to be, as you said, called against the Deep Creek Hornets, and the injured player down there is Robbie Robinson in the corner. So that, of course, would be extremely important as to his condition. Let's just hope he had the wind knocked out of him. I believe that's Robinson. As Hampton now has a 20-7 lead. There will be some time here as we will be watching very intently to see what happens with that injured player.
That could be a devastating blow to Hampton to have their premier running back injured, but I see he is up, and the fans are giving him a tremendous ovation. Tim, he's carried the ball for about 120 yards so far on 16 carries. 133 yards, I was just corrected, and of course that's unofficial. We're fortunate enough to have the Hampton Crabber statistic gentleman here next to us, and I appreciate all the help we can get.
Okay, so Robinson able to come off on his own, and he's been a real workhorse here in the first half. He has basically been the offense for the Crabbers. They have, as you mentioned, unofficially 133 yards out of him, and he's the only ball carrier that Hampton has had, very similar to Deep Creek in the form of Harper.
I want to give some credit where credit due. John Lindberry for the Hampton High School Crabbers is the one that's given us the statistics on what Robbie has done so far, and we sure appreciate that because that gives us our audience a little more to go by. They know that Robbie's been running the ball more than anybody else, but it's nice to see that this young man has already got 133 yards, and we've got a minute and 20-some seconds to go in the first half. That is a tremendous job in itself, Tim. Most players don't get 100 yards in a game.
Absolutely. Of course, when you're the only ball carrier, you're either going to wear yourself out or get some yardage, and Robinson has been just the man, and he checks into the ball game as we see the coaching staff, or one of the coaches at least, for Deep Creek discussing something with the officials right about the 3-yard line. I'm not sure exactly what they're discussing, but I'm not sure they actually assessed a penalty on that play. They may, in fact, tack the penalty on to the kickoff.
I believe that's what will happen. You kind of get mixed up on what rules go where. You got your high school and college are very similar. Then when you watch the pros, they tack it on to the kickoff. If you remember when we watched the Hampton-Bethel game last weekend, that they called 2 unsportsmanlike conduct calls against the Crabbers, which was Mike Smith told me illegal conference, and they tacked them on at the point at the kickoff. In fact, it was a 30-yard penalty against the Hampton Crabbers for the Bethel to be able to kick off from the Crabber 30-yard line. So I assume that's what they're going to do. If you see they're placing the ball at the 3-yard line, which is a normal spot for a point after.
Well, that's what they're going to do. And, of course, Leneuve, who has been perfect that we have seen him this year, will be once again trying to keep that record intact, trying to put the 21st point of the first half on the scoreboard. And the kick is up.
And it's good, Tim.
And the kick is good. So the Crabbers didn't need their timeouts. They didn't need a minute and 41 seconds. All they needed was Robbie Robinson to go around the side there, break through into the open, and score from 22 yards out.
And carry 1 or 2 defenders in with him when he went into the end zone, which, again, I've talked all night long about how strong he is. He's not a very big boy, young man, but I don't want to say that 165-pounders aren't strong, but when you've got men hanging on you, you've got to have tremendous strength in your legs and not only speed like Robbie's got, but he does have the tremendous strength. I look for the same type of kickoff that Hampton used before, Tim.
So they do, in fact, tack on the penalty, as you mentioned. A 10-yard penalty. I'm not sure exactly what the call was.
That's a 15-yarder because it's from the 40. So it's from the Hampton 40 to their 45. Deep Creek's 45, so it is a 15-yarder.
You're right, exactly. 1:23, our time remaining here in the first half. Hampton leading by the score of 21-7. Crabbers scored first, Deep Creek came back and tied it, and now Hampton has scored 2 unanswered touchdowns. And they'll be kicking off, and undoubtedly, as you said, we'll see a fairly short kick. This one's going to be taken at about the 23-yard line and immediately tackled out of bounds on a flag, which I really don't agree with. I know why he threw it, but the man was playing the football, and he went after him. If it's in fact against Hampton, it will be a personal foul. Fielding the ball for Deep Creek was 87, Jack Wilkins.
They're going to have a discussion on that because he was definitely inbounds as he was catching the ball, and the Hampton Crabber was tackling him as he was falling out of bounds. I don't know if they're going to tack the penalty on or not. They haven't given us any indication at all. I think that was just a bad call, and the officials they're human too. They're going to make errors, and it's a judgment call.
Okay, we're back, Bob. We had a momentary pause there as we had the tape change. The
and
first
I can't
half
change all
has
that.
Been a little longer. You want to repeat everything you had said during that?
That's all right. But I do look forward and put the ball up in the air, Tim. And evidently they did not mark off that penalty.
So they did not assess a penalty on the play after discussing it as we had seen it. Of course, we're not perfect either, and we had seen it one way, and the official momentarily, and after discussing it with the other officials, decided no flag should be thrown. This is Perry scrambling on the far sideline, and he'll be tossed out of bounds at about the 20-yard line. So the Crabbers maybe just possibly trying to atone for a little extra roughness that was administered to Robbie Robinson on that touchdown play.
I tell you what, Carl Porter grabbed hold of that quarterback, and he was no way he was going to get away from him. He got a hold of the jersey, and he flung him out of bounds. Carl is a 220, over 6 foot tackle, and I know he is a strong young man.
And he's fast too, because he caught up with what we've already seen, a very quick young man in Darren Perry. Threw him for a 2-yard loss. So the Crabbers back him up to the 20. A minute 14, clock stopped on the out-of-bounds play. On the draw, this is Harper up the middle. They'll give him 5 or 10 yards. They're not really concerned about the short gain. They just don't want anyone to break off and put 7 more on the board before halftime.
Right, at this point they can't afford to do that, and I don't believe that Deep Creek has any timeouts left, Tim. I think that you had mentioned earlier that they'd used 3 timeouts already during the first half, and that's all they're allowed per half. And the clock is running.
45 seconds. Second down, and or rather, check that, third down and about 7. Clock moving inside of 40 seconds. Perry fakes the draw. Looks over the middle, and it's intercepted by the Crabbers down to the 26-yard line. A flag in the area of the interception. We'll have to wait and see.
I don't know if he's going to call interference on anybody or not, and he looks like he might call it against the Hampton Crabber, but that young man did a super job of stepping in front and getting that ball. And the ball is in the air, everybody's got an equal chance to get it. I don't understand that.
He obviously must have pushed the intended receiver enough to warrant the interference call, because it did not appear to us that he had, but the official obviously much closer to the play than we are. And that's going to be the call. The Crabbers, a very unpopular call, needless to say, with the Hampton fans, but the Crabbers will not have the interception. Give credit for a fine play to Michael Alexander of Hampton. I believe it was number 1 to Michael Alexander who made that. And he may have actually made some contact before he intercepted the ball, if in fact he did, but that was the call.
But even if he did, if he's going for the ball.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. Well, the officials are much closer to the play, and we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. 40-yard line, 1st and 10. 14 seconds, clock is moving. Over the middle for Jimerson as he tries to get away, but does not, and he is stopped at the 49-yard line with no timeouts remaining. That will be the final play of the first half. 1 second, no time remaining. So the Hampton Crabbers and the Deep Creek Hornets head for the respective locker rooms. The Crabbers up by 14. Our score at halftime is Hampton 21, Deep Creek 7. Will return with more high school football after this brief timeout.
The viewing alternative in Hampton, WHCS, Channel 29.
Back at Todd Stadium, Tim Cole along with Bob Hens as we're just about set to get the second half underway. The Crabbers of Hampton leading by the score of 21-7 at halftime. Some quick stats for you. Hampton had 8 first downs in the first half, 5 for Deep Creek. Hampton passed the ball 4 times, completed 2 for 43 yards. Deep Creek, as we said, almost perfect, 6 out of 7 for a total of 60 yards. So far, the rushing attack, 151 yards for Robbie Robinson as the kickoff is underway. It's going to be taken at the 10-yard line. To the 20. This is, again, Harper does everything but carry the water out at halftime. Harper is taken down at the 30-yard line, so the Deep Creek Hornets will start up 1st and 10 across from their 30, about the 31-yard line.
Tim, that's the first time this year, excuse me for interrupting you, that's the first time this year that we have seen Hampton kick the ball deep. I know you got some more statistics. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Let me just finish these up. We had 14 yards returning for the Crabbers, 0 yards for Deep Creek. Penalties, we had 30 yards total for Deep Creek, 45 yards for the Crabbers. And on third down conversions, this is a very important statistic. Hampton converted 5 out of 6 third downs, and Deep Creek 1 out of 3. Time of possession was almost exactly the same, 12:22 for Hampton, 11:38 for Deep Creek. Again, Perry loses his footing, and he'll be sacked at the 20-yard line. Over there for the Crabbers, number 62, Hurley Miles.
And that's what's happening to not just to the quarterback for the Deep Creek Hornets, but it also has happened to other ball players. They have slipped in that part of the field now. At that particular place, there is grass on the field now. I don't know whether it's going from the ground to the grass that's making it slippery or not, but that's about a 10-yard loss, Tim.
We were, of course, out on the field just before the game began, and the field looked like it was in excellent condition, but there seems to be some footing problem occasionally. So a 10-yard loss on the play for Perry. So Deep Creek now, 2nd down and 20. Flags will go down as apparently Deep Creek has taken too much time.
That's not the way you want to start off the second half. You got to come out here and show a little bit of a dominance and move that ball down the field and get your confidence back for your offense. And when the offense does something good and scores, the defense kind of picks up that momentum. But right now, they're another 5-yard penalty against them, and that's moving the ball back. They're going the wrong direction. They're definitely going the wrong direction, Tim.
Robbie Robinson, not to belabor the point, but he carried the ball 20 times in the first half alone for 151 yards. So the young man is having himself one tremendous football game.
He's already carried the ball more yardage in one half than most players do at a full game.
On the option, Perry keeps the football, gets some yardage, crosses the 25, almost to the 30-yard line. So he gets good yardage as Perry shows his running abilities. And again, unlike Hampton, who has gone exclusively to Robinson with the football, Perry has run a couple of times in the first half. Toward the end of the first half, if you remember, he was sacked for a loss when Porter chased him out of bounds, along with Hurley Miles, number 62, just before the end of the half. So we're seeing something a little different here in the second half as we saw the quarterback option that time.
That's the first time I've seen them run the option tonight. I look for them to go to the passing attack, and they're going to have to put the ball up. They're not going to run and pick up 11 yards against Hampton.
3rd and 12. Perry gets the pass away on the far sideline, enough for the first down. Over there receiving the pass was William Stukes, number 27, and that was a real fine play once again.
Well, that was not only a fine play and a fine catch, but that was a tremendous throw. That was a long throw. He didn't pick up but about 12 yards on the play, but he threw that ball all the way across the field. And, that's a dangerous pass because it's an interceptable pass, but that was a good pass for the quarterback, Terry, and that gives them their first down, and this is what they need to do. They're going to move the ball down the field to get some momentum here back on their side.
Ball resting on the 43 of Deep Creek. They trail 21-7. Again, on the option, Perry will not get an opportunity to do anything this time as he is quickly covered by the Hampton Crabbers in the form of Sherwood Jones, number 70, as Jones just simply pounced on Perry, and once again we saw that slipping of the footing out there. They're still having some trouble.
Well, if you remember what Terry does is he changes directions about 3 or 4 times, and that's what he was attempting to do that time, was attempting to change directions, and his feet just slipped out from under him, and they lost about a yard on the play.
2nd and 11. Again, another flag, and obviously this will have to be against Deep Creek. Hampton hadn't moved, so there has to be a call against Deep Creek. Too much time.
Well, I don't know. It's not too much time, Tim.
Well, offside. Someone's lining up offside.
He's either lining up offside or one of those men that you alluded to earlier in the broadcast about when a lineman puts his hands down, he's in his three-point stance, he can't change, and I believe that the defensive tackle on this side is moving. He's moving his hands, and he can't do that, and I believe that's what the call is.
Well, once again, for the second time here in the second half, Deep Creek is penalized 5 yards. So they're finding themselves to be their own worst enemy on this particular possession. 8:53, the clock moving in the third quarter. Perry straight back this time. Steps up, throws, has a man, incomplete on the far sidelines. Covering for the Crabbers was 22, Craig Overton, and the intended receiver once again was William Stukes, the flanker. He's only 146 pounds and 5 feet 7. So what we've heard about Deep Creek being a small team, of course, is obvious, as they have a lot of players less than 150 pounds out there.
They really do, but I'm just amazed at the strength of this quarterback, Terry for Deep Creek. He's got a tremendously strong arm because he's throwing that ball clear across the field and putting it right on the money.
Third down and 16. Perry, quick pass to Stukes. Stukes spins away from one man, but doesn't get nearly enough for the first down. As over there making the stop for the Crabbers, number 60, Weymouth Williams, a guard.
There's a fumble on the play, Tim, and Hampton has recovered the fumble.
All right, so instead of being a fourth down, it's Hampton football. I didn't see the fumble occur at all.
I didn't either. All I did was I was listening to you, and I was watching the monitor here, and the referee pointed first down Hampton. So evidently there was a fumble after the tackle after he completed the pass.
Weymouth Williams is the man we'll give credit for the fumble recovery. The Crabbers with excellent field position. The ball at the 43 of Deep Creek, and Hampton already leading 21-7. Michael Bullock, the quarterback, has been throughout the entire game. This is Robinson, left side carry across the 40, down to the 37-yard line. And Robinson continues to tack on yardage. You know, we got a little stat sheet here before the game of records in state playoffs games, and the number of carries, the record in a playoff game is 32 carries. That by a Kevin Morgan back in 1982. And at the rate he's going, Robinson will far surpass that number.
He will eclipse that the third quarter if they can just keep giving the ball to him, because that's 21 carries that he's had already tonight.
He's going to have to go a long ways for the yardage, though. The yardage record is 384 yards, so we may or may not see Robinson do that. Robinson again across the 30, first down, Crabbers. The Crabbers moving the ball.
Excuse me, Tim, that is right up the middle. That is no more than just attacking man-to-man at the line of scrimmage, offense against defense, opening up a hole and let your running back run the daylight, and that's exactly what Robbie's doing. He's doing a super job of finding the opening, and then, of course, it takes more than one player to bring him down.
You know, what Hampton is not having to do is they're not having to use any of their other running backs, and, of course, Deep Creek may or may not be aware of the wealth of running talent that Hampton has. Hampton has this Calvin Knight, who I've been most impressed with, and of course they have Dickerson, who's in the backfield at this time. We have a movement on the Deep Creek side. It appears, unless he was pulled off, it appears that one of the Deep Creek defensive players made contact, and this will be a 5-yard penalty against Deep Creek. So they are really being their own worst enemy here in the second half.
Well, they played under such control the first half that when Hampton did a stagger count with the quarterback, that they couldn't pull them offside. But here in this half, they seem to be a little anxious. They know they have to score 2 touchdowns to get back in the ball game, and they're just a little anxious. Of course, they're playing right in Hampton's hands. They're doing what Hampton wants them to do.
Hampton had a very fine first half. They had almost 200 yards offense in the first half with 151 rushing and 43 passing. They were right at the 200-yard mark. Crabbers first down. This is again Robinson, close to the 20, down to about the 22. It was 1st and 5, so he'll come up shy of the first down. However, it'll be marked at the 21-yard line. He needs to cross the 20 to get to the 19. So we have a 2nd down and 2. And you have to wonder now, is this a wasting down situation? Would you be tempted to try something a little different on this play?
Well, you know, you'll see that happen in the pros a lot, that they call this a waste down, but I don't believe Mike Smith is going to do anything fancy. He's just going to do things that he's been doing all night, and he's going to pick up the first down and just drive that ball into the end zone.
Deep set for Robinson. Robinson again, the man with the football, trying to get to the outside, almost did, but nonetheless got down to the 15-yard line and picked up the first down, as he once again carried the ball for about 6 yards.
That was the same play that he had scored the 3rd touchdown on, Tim. It was just an off tackle on the left-hand side, and the tackling guard and end on that side do a good job opening up a hole, and then he just kind of runs to daylight and outruns and carries defensive ball players into the end zone with him.
So the first time this evening that I'm aware of, Dickerson will check out and Craig Pinello will check in for the Crabbers. As Custis stays in the ballgame, comes to the near side. He's the flanker to the right. Out of the eye. Fake to the first man. This is Robinson again. He's going to score a touchdown. Fumble the football, but not before he crossed the goal line.
And that is a touchdown. Once he's crossed the goal line with the ball, that is it. The play stops at that point. But that is 4 touchdowns for him tonight, if I'm not mistaken, Tim. And
well, he's got 3. Overton got the second touchdown. He's got 3.
I want to give them all to him.
Well, he certainly has been the main cog in the wheel. He's got to be close to 180, 190 yards now. 196, we're told, as Lenove puts the extra point try up and good. So the Crabbers now have really opened this game up as they have stretched it out to 28-7 with a little more than 5.5 minutes remaining here in the third quarter.
That's what you call taking advantage of a situation. Deep Creek turned the ball over in their own territory, and then Hampton just took it right on down and scored a touchdown, but they did everything basics. Tim, you know Hampton's going to run the ball. They're going to run it off tackle, either side, occasionally right up the middle, and they're going to give the ball to Robbie. That's what they've been doing all night, and he's telling them, stop me if you can, and they can't stop Robbie tonight. They're doing a good job out there blocking for him.
Going back to those records we were talking about, the record for a playoff game is a total of 4 touchdowns by an individual. So you've already given him his 4th, but he's going to have to work for his 4th before he gets into the record book.
I didn't mean to take anything away from Overton on that catch for the...
Overton has made a couple of real key plays, as we mentioned in the first half. Kickoff is going to be fielded again at the 10-yard line. This is Harper. Harper is upended as he reaches the 25-yard line. The Crabbers playing real tight right now. Their special teams playing extremely well. That was Jerome Davis, number 9, who got in there to put the shoulder tackle in on Harper. And Harper returned it from the 10 to the 25.
That was a fine hit from the tackler that time. Tim, you and I have watched Hampton play more than one time this year, and it seems second half they come out a little bit laxed and a little let down. But boy, they come out this second half and they are fired up. They are playing as good as they did the first half.
Deep Creek in deep trouble as they have a 21-point deficit right now. They need to move the football at the 25 on the bootleg. Perry downfield throws incomplete as Jimerson was the intended receiver out on the pattern. Over there was Jerome Davis along with Samuel Creighton for Hampton. Double coverage on the play. And the clock stops. We're going to have an official's timeout. We have an injured player on the field for the Hampton Crabbers. So we'll hold it here with 5:09 remaining. Hampton leading by the score of 28-7. Just if I may, recapping very quickly how the Hampton Crabbers got their 28 points and how Deep Creek got their 7. The Crabbers opened the scoring, took the opening kickoff and drove 60 yards with Robinson tacking on the last 21. With 7:18 left in the first period, they led 7-0 with the extra point by Lenove Good. Then Jimerson came back for Deep Creek on a 4-yard TD pass from Darren Perry, and that made it 7-7 as the extra point was good on that play at 3:36 of the first. Then Overton, the man that we tried to take the touchdown away from earlier, did a fine job of battling the defender in the corner of the end zone to get the 21-yard touchdown pass with 6:16 left, as we see Carl Porter for the Crabbers getting up and coming off. That's a very important key in the Hampton defense, is Carl Porter, needless to say. To continue with the scoring recap, again, Overton scored 21-yard pass completion from Bullock. And then to round out the scoring, the Crabbers scored, again, Robbie Robinson, 22 yards out with 1:23 left in the half. Extra point try was good, and that's the way we stood at halftime. Now the Crabbers have come out, and Robinson with his 3rd TD, this one a 15-yard run. As we see the double reverse, this working very well as Chris Copeland gets out to the 38-yard line. And he'll have the first down for Deep Creek, but with flag on the field.
Now, the flag is back at the 30. It may be a clipping call or a holding, and that looks like what it's going to be. I just got a little update on the statistics from our statistics man over here, John Lindberry, tells me that Overton, that Robbie Robinson has got 186 yards so far tonight, and Hampton's going to get the ball back more than one time.
So this will negate a fine play, that reverse handoff by the Deep Creek Hornets. And the ball carrying by Chris Copeland will be for naught.
that was the same play that they had run twice during the first half, that they faked that handoff, and that time they gave the handoff to the young man. And he's got some pretty good speed, and he had picked up the first down, but that, like you said, that negated it, and he moved him back to the 20-yard line. So now they got a second and, what's that, about 15?
Second and about 15 for Deep Creek. .440 left in the third quarter. Perry gets some pressure from Custis, and Custis drags him down at the 13-yard line.
That was a fantastic play by Custis, because he avoided the blocking back that was in the backfield, took a step towards him to block him, but it was too late, and he had all the way. That was a blitz situation for the Hampton Crabbers, and that just moves them back further and further. Now they got a third down and long, and you said earlier that they had only had one third down conversion in the first half.
They'll be hard-pressed this time as the ball is back to the 14-yard line. They need to get all the way to the 35-yard line for the first down. So it would appear to be about 25, 30 yards. And Perry hands off to Harper. Harper's spinning away, but we have the play blown dead. I'm not sure exactly what happened. Perhaps Harper's knee went down.
That's the only thing that it could have been, is he made a cut and he slipped, and the official may call that his knee was down at about the
well, right, just a little across the 15.
Okay, and that brings up a fourth down, and they have not been kicking the ball very well at all. They've I think the longest was about a 20-yard kick, so Hampton should end up with excellent field position.
Harper, the man who carries the ball most often for Deep Creek, is also the punter. As I mentioned earlier, he returns the kickoffs. Probably keeps stats for the team when he's not out.
Well, and I saw him carry out the water bucket earlier. Not really, but the young man does a lot. And this is one thing we was talking to Jimmy Hall earlier, the assistant coach for the Deep Creek team, is you have to use your athletes, and you use them on both sides. If they play offense and defense, your best ball players you got to play. And he said that their weak is, as far as depth concerned, they've got some good ball players, but they don't have a lot of depth.
Hampton, of course, has some key players they use two-way. Michael Bullock, the quarterback, plays the safety position as well as the quarterback. Keith Custis plays the flanker, brings the plays in from the bench on alternating plays for Mike Smith, and then of course he plays a defensive cornerback, and he had that sack on Perry just a little while ago. So it's third down for the Deep Creek Hornets. Somehow they got confused on the number of downs that had been run, and they hand off again to Harper. He gets close to the 20, and now it will be in fact a fourth down, and the Hornets will have to kick the football. You can see that stat. Deep Creek is a very small team, averaging only about 190 pounds. I remember when I went to Hampton eons ago, we had an offensive line that averaged 250 pounds.
Oh, I tell you, this is not a big team. Either one of the teams out there very big, but it's a... Okay, that ball went out of bounds at about the 41-yard line, Tim. Hampton has taken over and started to drive inside their 40-yard line about 4 times tonight.
So the Crabbers, once again, sound redundant, but they will have excellent position on the field to start this possession. Only 1 minute and 57 seconds remain in the third quarter, and the Crabbers with a, I guess you could call it a comfortable 21-point lead, 28-7.
Well, I don't know if anything's comfortable, but I know that the coaching staff is right now is looking up there and see 1 minute and 57 seconds and wish it was 1 minute and 57 going to fourth quarter, not the third quarter, because anything can happen in high school football, as we saw against Hampton and Bethel game, when with 1 minute and 40-some seconds to go, Bethel scored after Hampton was driving.
From the 41. Again, Robinson, this time for one of the few times this evening, barely gets back to the line of scrimmage. In fact, he'll end up with a negative 1 yard on the carry. So Robinson is actually human. He actually did not pick up yardage on that play. So they back him up to the ball is just inside the 40 of Hampton. And again, we will see coming in Craig Pinello checking in for Marvin Dickerson of the Crabbers. Dickerson has been in the backfield tonight but has not touched the football for the Crabbers. Near sideline comes William Jeter along with Craig Overton. Wide receivers to the near side. Again, Robinson, the workhorse. Hit, spins away, still on his feet, and is grabbed by the face mask.
And there's face mask, obvious call, Tim.
And they're going to have a first down as a result of that. The Deep Creek Hornets, probably out of a little bit of frustration right now, are doing whatever they can to stop Robbie Robinson. They haven't been able to stop him but once all night, and that didn't work for them at all. That's 15 yards.
It didn't, and I can see where the frustration is coming out. He was hit by 4 or 5 different defenders that time, and they could not bring him down, and he was still moving, and the only way you could bring him down was grab something illegal.
And that's what they did. So Robinson was in fact stopped, but not before they tacked on 15, and Robinson, to a well-deserved round of applause, checks out of the ball game for the first time this evening.
Knight's coming in.
So Calvin Knight, who I find to be an extremely interesting player to watch, number 12, is in the ball game for the Crabbers, number 12. And he'll get the call. This is Calvin Knight showing that speed across the 35 of Deep Creek. Out there blocking for him was Craig Overton, number 22. And Knight gets the first down.
But you had talked about Calvin Knight earlier this evening, and you had said what tremendous running back he was, and it's a shame that this young man probably could be starting on any other team in the state except Hampton. He's playing behind Robbie Robinson, who is just having an excellent year.
I'm sure we'll see Calvin Knight playing that position on a full-time basis next year, as he is but a junior, and Robinson, of course, will be a graduating senior. Knight again with the ball down to the 30. Hampton now winding the clock down. 30 seconds remaining in the third quarter. That will probably be the last play of the third quarter unless Deep Creek calls a timeout. Hampton will be in no hurry to get the play off. All they want right now is time to elapse. Well, now we're going to have an official's timeout, as the referee has gone over to talk to number 74, Mike Pope of Deep Creek, and I believe they're going to have him attended to. He might have been shaken up on that last play.
He may have been wandering around a little bit, and it made the official wonder what was happening with the number 74 wandering around in the backfield. Evidently, he got shook up on the play, and that was a smart call by the officials. Anytime you have an injured player on the field or somebody you think needs some attention, you call timeout and get the trainer into the game.
So the Crabbers, second down and about 6. Pinello and Knight in the backfield. Now we have whistles and a little contact on the line of scrimmage.
End of the quarter, Ken.
And that's what happened. The clock ran out on the Crabbers here in the third quarter. So we've seen 3 quarters of football here at Todd Stadium, and the Crabbers lead 28-7. And when they start the fourth quarter, Bob, they'll have the ball right at the 30 of Deep Creek. So it doesn't look real good for the Hornets right now.
It surely doesn't, because they only have 12 minutes to go, and they got to score 3 times to get in this ball game. We had talked about earlier this evening before we went on the air about Hampton playing Bethel last Saturday, and Bethel had made a statement that they were going to take the running game away from Hampton and force Hampton to pass, and when Hampton did, they were very, very successful at it. Tonight, Hampton has not had to go to the pass. All they've had to do is give the ball to Robbie and shoot him to the right side, or the left side, or up the middle, and they've been very, very successful, and Calvin Knight seems to be following right in the same footsteps, and he's got some big shoes to fill next year, but I believe he's capable of doing it.
I'm very impressed with Calvin Knight. I really am. And I'm looking forward to seeing him next year. You know, just to give you some further evidence of Hampton's success moving the football tonight, Donald Pincus has yet to kick the ball in a punt formation for the Crabbers. They have not had to punt the ball.
That's true. I didn't even realize that until you said that, but they have converted on just about everyone except one of the third down situations in the first half.
And I believe that third down ended up in the interception.
Yeah, that's true.
So the Crabbers, second down, and we've got flags. Again, we had movement before the ball was snapped. So the Crabbers will either have a second down and 1 or perhaps a second down, whether they're going to call against Crabbers. So it'll be second down and 11 as he will be backed up.
Evidently, one of the interior linemen moved prior to the snap of the ball, and that's what that call was. And that's one of the very few times tonight that Hampton has had a second down and a long to go. They have always been second and short because of what Robbie Robinson has been doing. And look who's coming back in the game.
Calvin Knight checks out. Robbie Robinson goes back in for the Crabbers. Hampton with a second down and 11. Two wide receivers to the near side for the Crabbers.
And if you want to pick up a few yards, who do you give the ball to? Number 11, right up the middle, and he picked up, what, about 8 or 9 yards that time.
So he got the penalized yardage back and then some, as it'll be a 3rd down and about 3. And a timeout has been called by Deep Creek, as their defensive team has had a long night on that field. The Crabbers have done what they wanted to do. They've controlled the football.
They have that, and that's what Mike Smith said when I talked to him Wednesday this week, that they have to control the ball to win, and that's exactly what they're doing. And the first half, if we remember, that Deep Creek used all 3 of their timeouts well into the by the second quarter, sometime in the second quarter, and here they've already used 1. Of course, now it's getting to the point where they must stop Hampton. If Hampton scores here, it's just going to be insurmountable. They're just not going to be able to overcome that type of a lead.
.11:42 remaining in the 4th quarter. The Crabbers being coached by Mike Smith. Mike Smith having tremendous success over the years. The unbeaten seasons for the Hampton Crabbers. Mike Smith has had unbeaten seasons in 1985, of course. In 83, they were 8-0. 82, they were 9-0. 81, they were 10-0. 78 under Mike Smith, they were 9-0-1. 77, 75, 72, they were all 10-0 under Mike Smith. And the last time that Hampton went 10-0 with someone other than Mike Smith was when Johnny Palmer, a very well-known name in the Hampton area, was the coach in 1969. That was the only time that Palmer had an unbeaten season for the Hampton Crabbers. So Mike Smith keeps the tradition going strong for the Crabbers.
And unofficially, from our young man at doing the statistics, John Lindberry, we got 192 yards prior to that carry for Craig Overton, so he is closing down on 200 yards tonight. I'm sorry, Robbie Robinson.
Okay, Robinson picks up 2 more yards, and he'll be shy of the 1st down. So I would suspect that the Crabbers, needless to say, will go for the 1st down. It's 2nd down, or rather 4th down, and a long yard, make it almost 2. So it would be a tough guess to figure out who's going to carry the ball.
Yeah. It
might actually cross us up.
Well, it'll probably be either Robbie Robinson or Robbie Robinson.
4th down and 2.
Or maybe a quarterback sneak.
Pitch out goes to Robinson. Cuts inside. Oh, is he leveled as he gets to the 25, and he will not get the 1st down. So one of the Deep Creek Hornets, I didn't pick up his number, but I'm sure Robinson will remember it. I believe it was 65, who would be Antonio Griffin, and he stopped Robinson in his tracks. Well, so Robinson definitely felt that one, as Griffin came over and really put a hit on him.
Well, that's, he is human. I think you made mention to that earlier this evening, that he is human. But that's not very good field position when you're starting from your own 25 and you're down by 21 points and you've got less than 11 minutes to go in the game.
So Deep Creek will get the ball on downs from their 25. Perry wants to pass, has plenty of time, throws it complete.
Incomplete.
Check that, incomplete, as momentarily it was in the hands of Chris Copeland. You might have seen that graphic a little earlier. We had the graphic up that Copeland had 31 grabs on the year, but he will not get a reception on that particular play.
And you can bet your life that Hampton's defensive secondary is going to get tested now, because they've got to put the ball up and they've got to score quick. They can't run the ball and score. And of course, if they don't complete the pass, it stops the clock, so that it saves time for them also.
2nd and 10 from the 25. Perry getting some heat. Scrambles and throws. The ball is incomplete, as it was thrown generally in the area of Keith Custis over on the far sidelines. But a call of intentional grounding would not be called, as there was evidence that there was someone in the general area. But Perry got a lot of heat that time.
He got a lot of heat. There was not a Deep Creek receiver in the area. Now, there was one about 15 yards downfield, but when you're running to your left and you're right-handed, it's extremely hard to pass the ball.
Clock stops with 10:21 left in the 4th quarter. Deep Creek now 3rd and 10. And Hampton's got the blitz coming. Gets it off over the middle, juggled and incomplete. As not being able to hold on to the football was Jack Wilkins, number 87 for Deep Creek, and he just couldn't quite get the handle of the ball, so the Crabbers now will undoubtedly see Deep Creek in deep punt formation. Back deep will be Donnell Harper, that premier running back of theirs. He is also the punter. And of course, there is that option of running with the football. I don't see them doing that, as that would be devastating if they didn't.
Yeah, not at this point, not at this end of the field. They just can't afford to do that. They're not in a four down area. But that's one of the better punches he's had all night.
Overton feels it at his 40 and then loses his footing in that same general area we've alluded to. Down there quickly for Deep Creek was Mike Pope, number 74, along with number 22, Dwayne Richards for Deep Creek. So Overton gets little or no return on the ball, and a momentary flare-up between a couple of players, but a handshake to follow, as we've seen excellent sportsmanship throughout the season on the Peninsula District teams, and no reason we shouldn't continue to do so.
That's true, Tim. I'm going to go out on a limb, Tim, and I don't believe that Hampton is going to put the ball in the air. I believe they're going to keep it on the ground. Now, I've done that all year, and every time I've said that, they come out and pass the ball. So let's see what happens.
Well, the Crabbers, if they can hold on for this win, of course, will play the winner of the Kempsville-Lake Taylor game. And this time a fumble. Calvin Knight had the football, and he was stopped, and I heard a whistle after the ball was loose, but they may have ruled he was already stopped before he fumbled the ball. So over there on the stop was Mike Pope again for Deep Creek. He's been in on a lot of plays tonight. He was the young man you might remember was helped off the field a little while ago, but he's back in there as he's one of those tough players. One of the things that Coach Hall had to mention to us, Jimmy Hall was talking to us about, he said their team has a lot of character, and it's showed up very well tonight.
You look how many people they got up on the line of scrimmage, Tim. They've got 9 players right up on the line of scrimmage.
Fumble.
And then we got a penalty thrown from down at this end.
So we'll let them try and unscramble this. We have a flag down, and the ball did come loose. I'm not sure who recovered it. We'll hold off and see who they're going to give the football to. We've got a couple of situations here where you've got some players in there for Hampton now that are not used to playing that often, especially in this game. We've seen almost exclusively the same backfield from the very beginning.
I believe the ball is going to stay with the Hampton. I don't know what time the penalty was on, but I don't see him marking off anything or seen a preliminary signal yet, Tim.
We'll wait and see, as the officials will determine in a moment. I believe we're going to see a call against the Crabbers, but I'm not sure. They're talking to the Deep Creek team, and it looks like they're going to mark off a penalty. I believe it's a holding call. That's what the call is, a holding penalty against the Crabbers.
Well, that might make a difference here. You got a second and extremely long, and if you run it on this play, it's going to be almost impossible to pick it up, especially with the unit he's got in there. The first unit is not in the backfield. Just as I speak, in comes Robbie Robinson.
And we had a totally new number in the form of Todd Summers. Number 42 was the man that Robinson just replaced for the Crabbers. Todd Summers in the ball game for the first time. Second down and 27, as we're going to have a delay of the game call against the Crabbers. That sure was a fast 25 seconds after they put the ball down.
I'm going to bite my tongue.
Nonetheless, delay of the game is the call against the Crabbers. So they're having some difficulty right now getting on track with this possession. They now have a second down and 32. So Crabbers with a fairly comfortable 21-point lead, but they're not really helping themselves very much now because they're going in the opposite direction that they wish to do. Second and 32. Plenty of time. Flag goes down in the backfield. Ball knocked away on a fine defensive play by William Stooks, number 27 of Deep Creek. But we have a flag down in the general area that you will see a holding call being made.
And at this point, with what they've got, you would think that the Deep Creek would take the penalty, move them back even further, because they've got a 32 and it's be half the distance to the goal line, and Hampton is going the wrong direction. But again, right now, what Deep Creek's got against them, Tim, is not only Hampton, but they also have the clock. But there's less than 8 minutes and 30 seconds to go in the game, and you've got to score 3 touchdowns just to get even.
So the Crabbers now are backed up inside their 10 at the 9-yard line. So they have to go all the way past midfield. So you're talking about 41, 43 yards. Second down, though. They still have plenty of downs. But they'll be tested this time to get a first down, needless to say.
Well, that's for sure. You and I are both was really impressed last week with Jeter, the end for Hampton when they run in a split formation. But I don't see them splitting out, and they're just going to run the ball up the gut.
Robinson back in the backfield. So a third down now, and long yardage as Robinson got the ball out to the 15. So he picks up another 6.
We may see the Hampton punter for the first time tonight, Tim.
Robinson gets 6 yards, and now they'll bring in a couple of new bodies. We got Dickerson coming back in along with Keith Custis as Overton checks out along with Pinello. Robinson remains in the backfield. It's Robinson and Dickerson the backs. Michael Bullock with third down and 37 to go. Robinson gets out close to the 30-yard line. So Robinson again picks up good yardage. Robinson carries for 15 yards, so you know now he's well over the 200-yard mark.
I don't have the statistics from my buddy over here, John Lindberry, yet, but I'll get him before the Deep Creek starts their drive. I got 29 carries for 207 yards.
So Pincus will kick the ball for the first time, takes a Hampton roll, and now it's fielded at the 27-yard line. This is Copeland, and he'll go out of bounds as he takes a tumble over the near sidelines. I hope he's all right. It looked like he was okay. It's Stooks checked that. William Stooks says we have a couple of Crabbers slow to get up. Robinson, one of them, along with Overton. A couple of Crabbers got some good blocks put on them.
Well, I'll tell you what, you watch Robbie Robinson coming off and Craig Overton, they have been playing all night long, and Robbie has carried the ball 29 times already for over 200 yards, and a lot of times he was carrying people with him. So that young man has a right to be tired.
So the Crabbers now give the ball back on the punt, and with exactly 7 minutes remaining in the ballgame, Deep Creek will once again start from their 36-yard line. Rolling to his left is Perry. Perry looks downfield, and this ball was thrown high over the head of Chris Copeland, number 25, for Deep Creek. So right now, Perry is not enjoying nearly what the success he had in the first half.
No, he has averaged 60% completion throughout the season, but that is one of the hardest passes to throw when you run into your left and you have to turn your shoulders and throw that ball to the right and be very accurate. He was on line, but he was about 4 or 5 feet over the head of the intended receiver.
Second down and 10. Perry rolling, looking, gets some pressure, throws it downfield. And this is Jimerson. He laterals the ball back, and we're going to see a foot race. I believe you will not see them get... No, they didn't catch him. I look around the field for some flags. I do not see any. And that one will go from the 36-yard line, a pass to Jimerson, who lateraled it back to Chris Copeland. And Copeland will get credit for the touchdown.
That was I don't know if that was a call play or not, but that was a play. I remember when I was coaching at Bucko Junior High School when I was football coach, and I used that run, but I used a short pass to an end who then pitched it to a running back going around the outside, and that's exactly what happened that time. And that was a tremendous boost in the arm, but that gives them a chance to get on the scoreboard with 6:43 left to go in the fourth quarter.
So over a 64-yard pass completion. Jimerson heads up play as we have a flag down on the extra point. The extra point was good, but we'll hold it for a moment to see if in fact they have to kick it over. We've got flags all over the field. So the Deep Creek Hornets counted down, but certainly not out, as they score very quickly on a 64-yard pass completion we have an illegal procedure call against Deep Creek, and they'll have to kick the extra point try again. Jimerson showed great heads-up play that time, and knowing where he was, he made a fine grab on the play, and then simply looked behind him and saw Copeland coming along and tossed it back to him, and then it was a foot race.
And what was even greater about that play was he had a defender hanging on him. In fact, was bringing him down as he turned and pitched the ball or lateraled the ball off. But they're going to have to try that point after again now from 5 yards further back.
The wind is blowing across the field in our direction, so he'll have to, of course, allow for the wind. And this one will be, in essence, a 25-yard extra point try as they'll mark the ball at the 15. The kick is up. It's long enough, and it's good. So with 6:43 left in this ball game, and the game, needless to say, is not over until what's-her-name sings, 28-14. 2 touchdowns. That's a lot of points against a good defense like Hampton. But
it really is
not out of the realm of possibility.
No, it isn't. And you know, and I know that they're going to try an onside kick. I feel like they have to try to get the ball back quick. If, of course, it's hard to believe what happened that last Thursday down with Hampton, but they weren't going the wrong way. They were having penalties and one thing and another, and that's not very indicative of the way that the first 3 quarters of this ball game has gone.
A lot of the fans have left the game a little early, and they might have left quite prematurely, as this game is certainly not over yet. 6:43 left on the clock. Needless to say, we can look for Deep Creek to be trying an onside kick.
And you can see Hampton has 9 players up real close within 20 yards of the ball. It's got to go 10 yards before it's a free ball unless the Hampton man touches it.
We'll watch the man that scored the touchdown moments ago be the man who kicks off this time. Copeland will be the man who kicks the ball. It goes 10 yards. It's a free ball, and it's going to be a scramble for the football. It looks like Hampton has it. Well, that might be a little early. Yes, they do.
They're calling Hampton got it. That ball come flying out of that. That ball had to go 10, 15 yards down the field.
Todd Summers, 42, for the Hampton Crabbers, alertly jumped on that football and then had about half the Deep Creek team jump on him. But the officials ruled that Summers had control of the football. So the Hampton Crabbers now will have the ball at the 44. A very, very good try for Deep Creek.
That was, I know the Hampton coaches had a shortness of breath at that one point because that ball just went flying down the field.
So the Crabbers have it, 1st and 10 at the 44 of Deep Creek. And this is Robinson. Robinson still struggles forward as he picks up about 4 yards. Robinson looked like he was stopped for about a gain of 2, and on great second effort, as we've seen him do all night long, he carried a couple of tacklers for 2 more yards.
You can hit him, but you can't bring him down, and it looks like what's happening with the Deep Creek team is they're hitting him high, and if you don't stop him by hitting him around the ankles and the knees, that he just keeps right on going. His feet doesn't stop moving. He keeps churning.
2nd down and 6. 5 minutes, 43 seconds. The clock moving. On the fake, Bullock throws. He's got Custis open just a little bit long.
Oh, that was a tremendous pass route, and they really had the Deep Creek defenders stymied because they didn't expect to see a pass at all. And Mike Smith is not sitting on this 14-point lead. He says he wants to get another score, and I don't blame him.
But that Custis was open.
Oh, he was wide open, Tim.
Ball was just overthrown as Bullock had plenty of time. Great play-action fake as the defenders for Deep Creek really were fooled by that. They were obviously, as you said, they were not looking for a pass. At the 40. And Bullock will keep it on the option, and he is hit hard as he crosses the 40 to about the 37. And that a risky play. I'm not so sure I'd be anxious to have my quarterback running the football right now.
Well, Hampton's got a good backup quarterback, but the man that has brought you here, you go with. And I was very surprised the first time we've seen that Bullock just kept the ball on a quarterback it wasn't even an option because Robbie quit following him.
Exactly.
He had put his head down, and it was just all the way he was going to carry the ball.
Well, I would think that they certainly wouldn't want to risk an option play at this point. I'm certainly not going to second guess Mike Smith. He's a coach whose decisions don't ever need to be second guessed by me. But I was surprised as you saw that long count. They pulled off Deep Creek, and apparently.
And look what it was. It was 4th down and 4. So that will give them a first down. And that can be just start nailing little nails in the coffin lid. That will be a first down for the Hampton, and that means the clock's going to continue to run, and they got 4 more downs.
Getting back to what I was saying, I certainly don't want to second-guess Mike Smith. He's a tremendous coach, and his record proves that without question. I personally just find it a little bit unusual to see the quarterback on an option play this late in the ball game, and you're leading by 14 points.
Well, the option play is a high-risk offense, and Hampton has not done that all year, so that was surprising to both of us.
That's the extra point, exactly. Not only for the safety of the quarterback, but the possibility of a fumble. Nonetheless, first down for the Crabbers at the 34. Pitch out goes to Robinson. Robinson momentarily indecisive about what he's going to do. Fumbled the ball, but not before he had already gone down. And we have, again, a late flag as the second half has had a considerable increase in the number of penalties from the first half. And this one, well, the officials are discussing it.
Well, Hampton is moving back.
Illegal block will be the call against the Crabbers. So
Tim,
the second half's been a little sloppy.
Yeah, you know, the first half it seemed like there were very few flags, if any, and they were just minor. But this second half has just been one yellow flag after another on the field, and it's getting to the point where I'm kind of getting tired of seeing them. I know that the coaches are getting tired of seeing them. But the officials are doing a good job out there. They've got a situation where they can only please half of the people here. And you're not going to please all of them. So they're out there and they're doing a good job calling this game.
Crabbers are penalized back to their 49-yard line, so they need to get all the way down to the 23 for a first down. About 28 yards to go for the first down. Inside handoff, this time blowing right up the middle for the Crabbers, and that is number 30. Got a flag.
And that was a face mask, Tim.
Samuel Creighton broke that one almost all the way as he blew right through the middle of the line, and no one touched him.
That was a tremendous run, plus they're going to add a 15-yard penalty. Well, it won't be 15. It'll be half the distance to the goal line from that point.
That should mark the ball down close to the 11-yard line. Samuel Creighton was the ball carrier for the Crabbers as he went from his 49 all the way down to the 22 of Deep Creek, and with a penalty tacked on, it puts the ball at the 11, first down. The Crabbers now with an opportunity to add to their 28 points. And that 28-14.
And what I forget how many yards he had to go, but they were clear back on the other side of the 50. So you're talking about
the 23. So he had a fine game.
That was about a 40-yard play.
First and 10 at the 11. Robinson trying for that 4th touchdown. He's got it.
All right, and that's why I gave him 4 touchdowns. I'm so glad he got that one. I kept trying to give him 4.
So Robinson gets his name in the record books with his tying 4th touchdown, as he will tie a man named Russell Davis in 1974. Had to go all the way back to 1974, and Robinson gets his 4th TD of the night. Well, if you're the coach for either Kempsville or Lake Taylor, you don't have to have a real difficult game plan on how to stop Hampton. Break Robbie Robinson's legs, and you've got a chance.
You stop Robbie Robinson, and you're going to stop Hampton. Anyway, that's the way it was tonight. But we have seen Mike Smith put the ball in the air and has some good receivers, as we've seen some receivers open tonight. So that's not all the offense of Hampton, but tonight it is, and that's all they need.
We have a flag on the field as they were lining up for the extra point try. A flag was thrown. I don't know exactly what, but we'll wait for a moment. I'm sure we'll see. Referee Well, it was an inadvertent flag. They say no penalty.
He had to blow his nose that time, Tim.
So the Crabbers will try for their 35th point here. Robinson with 4 touchdowns tonight. Overton had the other one, and they're coming, and they deck Mike Bullock. And I'm telling you, it's getting a little rough out there, and I think we're seeing some.
And there's a flag on that too. That was roughing the holder.
And they blew by before the ball was snapped. They were offsides to begin with, and it appeared that they had 1 in 10, and that was to block the kick and hit someone else while they're doing it. So I think the frustration level right now for Deep Creek has gone well above and beyond the call of duty here.
Yeah, you just took the words right out of my mouth, Tim. It is frustration. They've had an excellent season this year, and they come in here with high hopes of doing something, and now they're going to be down 21 points and with 3 minutes and 38 seconds to go in the game, and they know they have no chance of winning this game, and they've got to take the frustration out somebody, and it's a shame because it's been a good game and good sportsmanship, as you have said earlier this evening.
It seems to be deteriorating, and I don't want to dwell on the point, but that was the quarterback for Hampton that was severely hit as he was trying to place the ball down. So they're coming again. This is a fake. And Bullock will not get the ball away as he is sacked for a loss. So Hampton will not get their 35th point of this ball game because, again, they rushed it this time. They were not offside. And the Crabbers fail on the extra point try. One of the few times we've seen them not convert on the extra point. 3 minutes and 38 seconds remaining. There you see it, a 20-point margin for the Crabbers. And they will undoubtedly at this point move on to face either Kellum or Lake Taylor. I'm trying to listen with my other ear down to the PA announcer. He's been giving some scores throughout the evening, and I'm not sure. I think he's announcing right now who will be involved in next Friday night's game.
Yeah, they're talking about going to Kellum, so that means that the Kempsville won that game over there. So Hampton will play Kempsville, and we'll talk about the number 1, number 2 seeded team. And that'll be a tremendous game. I hope that we can get over there and do that game.
Well, you know, not that it would have a total bearing on it, but it certainly would be nice to hear from some of the fans who've watched the game. And if we can do that game, we will certainly do everything possible. But a few calls from some of the fans who are watching this game in their vocal support of us continuing to do as many games as we can for Hampton would certainly go a long ways towards helping us decide whether we can or not.
That's for sure. All they have to do is call the Hampton School Board and ask for Dr. Sam Still and just let them know that they've enjoyed our broadcasts and they support what we're doing. And that goes a long way with what we're doing here tonight to help the Hampton school system.
So hopefully we will be at Kempsville High, check that, Kellum High School, next Friday night as Hampton tries a short kickoff, and it's taken at the 27. So we will have Deep Creek with the football, assuming we don't have any flags on the play. Just a reminder again, we want to give special thanks, and I certainly mean special thanks, to Fred Street of the Group AAA chairman for his assistance in securing the rights to these games. Wayne Begor, the facility arrangements here at Todd Stadium have been incredible. They have done everything for us, but give us the field. I mean,
they will carry us up the steps. But
so
Wayne Begor's done a fantastic job. We want to thank him also.
And A.G. Womble for his financial support. We want to be sure and thank A.G. for helping us make these games possible. But Fred Street, Mr. Womble, and Mr. Begor, our thanks to you for all of your help. Deep Creek, of course, has to pass the ball, have to get back in the game. They're not going to be able to, as Perry will be dragged down for a loss at the 20-yard line. Clock continues to move, 3 minutes and 25 seconds remaining. The Crabbers leading by 20, 34-14.
Well, that was the case that time, that the defensive backs of Hampton did a good job of covering up the receivers, and he could not find anybody open, and he had to leave the pocket. And when he did, then, of course, the pocket broke down, and Hampton did a good job of pursuing and dropping him for about an 8-yard loss that time. They've got to put the ball up, and Hampton is playing. They're not playing a prevent defense. They're playing a regular defense.
And once again, a flag thrown. We'll wait and see. You know, at the same time, if we are fortunate enough to do the game over at Kellum High School between Kempsville and Hampton, we certainly don't want to discourage any of the Hampton supporters from traveling over there to help support the Hampton Crabbers. Whether you went to Hampton High School or go to Hampton High School, if you're from the peninsula. It would be really a nice gesture, and your team, the Hampton Crabbers, would certainly appreciate your support in this particular playoff.
Oh, absolutely, and even to carry that one step further, Hampton represents the peninsula. I mean, not just Hampton, but Newport News and the Peninsula District, and it's a fine representative team. They couldn't have picked a better team to represent the Peninsula District, and anybody that's on this side would be amiss by not going over and seeing that game if they had a chance to, because it will be a fine football game.
I'm certainly looking forward to it. Deep Creek from their 15-yard line. Pitch back goes to Harper. Harper will get to the 17, 18, 19. He doesn't give up very easily. He's finally bulldogged down by Sherwood Jones, number 70.
And there's another flag on the play, Tim. It's raining flags out there tonight. Especially in this fourth quarter, it's just been unbelievable.
Second half has been filled with penalties, as both teams have had a vast number of them, and it seems like Deep Creek has had more than their share.
I haven't been keeping track, but that's one of the statistics we haven't kept, is how many penalties have been called tonight. And but this second half has been tremendous, and it is an unsportsmanlike conduct call against the Hornets.
So Deep Creek may be having a little difficulty swallowing this defeat, as again, handshakes are forthcoming between Jimerson of Deep Creek and one of the Hampton Crabbers, so they amend their ways, so to speak. Something was said or done in, again, some frustration, I'm sure. But Deep Creek is a young team. They're only going to lose about 6 players off of the starting offensive and defensive teams next year.
Yeah, they're going to lose their running back, but their quarterback will be back. Robbie Robinson, I just got an update from John Lindberry, says that he has carried the ball 31 times for an incredible 222 yards tonight.
Perry is snowed under as he is taken down at the 5-yard line. That leaves, unofficially of course, it leaves Robinson shy of one other record. The record number of carries was 32 for a running back in a game, in a playoff, so he has unofficially 31.
Maybe we missed one. Maybe we missed one. I don't know.
Give him the extra one.
I was trying to give him that 4th touchdown all night. I was sure glad that he got that.
You're just clairvoyant. You knew he was going to score. That's all.
Yeah, my wife tells me that all the time.
Deep Creek with a 4th down at their 5-yard line will be in deep punt formation, so it's conceivable that we might see Robinson again. I doubt it. I really suspect that Mike Smith wouldn't take any chances of injuring Robinson at this point. Hampton will just let the ball roll dead, and they'll get it at the Deep Creek 38-yard line. So just a minute and 27 seconds remain in the ball game. Hampton will be facing Kempsville High School Friday night. 8 o'clock is the game time, so it gives you plenty of time to get home from work and drive over to Kellam High School and support the Hampton Crabbers as they continue the quest for the state championship. Last year they came up shy as T.C. Williams defeated them in a real hard-fought game, and the Crabbers would like nothing better than to get revenge.
That's for sure. Number 7, Drock Kroom, is in quarterback in the Crabbers now, and he's got the second unit in there. None of the first stringers are in there right now.
Pinello and Knight are in the backfield. And again, Kroom carries the football on the quarterback keeper. Hampton right now just wants to get this game over with. 50. And we may see 2 more plays. We'll probably have time for 2 if they hurry.
Well, they're not in a hurry, Tim. They want that clock to run out.
Handoff goes to Calvin Knight. Knight crosses the 30 to about the 28. Check that. Summers is the ball carrier, 42, not 12. And Todd Summers carries. He's just a freshman.
Just a freshman. So you can see Mike Smith had told me that he's not going to lose many ball players, but they got a timeout. They're going to measure for a first down, and there's 30 seconds to go. So when the official starts the clock, Hampton will have 25 seconds to get the ball in play. So they're going to have to do one more running play anyway.
Incidentally, while I'm giving thanks to the different people involved, of course, Fred Street, Wayne Bagor, H.E. Wobble, I also want to thank the people whose names we don't have, the ones that have helped us with setting up here. And the gentleman came by with those stats at halftime, which were most helpful. I'm sorry I didn't get his name, but whoever you are, we thank you for that. And the Crabbers with a first down, and there you see all the fine people who made this game possible for you tonight. There is Calvin Knight, as he carried the ball probably for the last play of the game.
There's another flag, Tim.
I'm trying to get this game over with for these folks, but I'm not having a great deal of success. We'll have a penalty.
Regardless of what happens, whether we get to do the game next week or not, Tim, I want to take this time to thank you and Dr. Still and all his able assistants. They've done just a tremendous job all year, and I have enjoyed it. I've enjoyed working with you again. This is our third year that we've got to work together, and it's each year we get to work a few more ball games. And
we'll be doing every one of them, hopefully.
I tell you what, I sure enjoy it. It's been a tremendous boost to my morale since I got out of the coaching, and you have a tendency to get away from it, but this kind of keeps me in closer contact with the Peninsula sports, what's going on, and I really appreciate the time I'm able to do this.
11 seconds, clock moving, probably the last play of the game. Summers fumbles the football. There's a scramble for it. I'm not sure who's got it, but the clock will stop with 4 seconds. If in fact, well, Deep Creek has recovered the ball. So we'll have one more play. Deep Creek will have one more shot at moving the football because the clock will not start now, as I understand it, with the change of possession. It will not start again until the ball is snapped. So Deep Creek falls on the fumble, and they call a timeout.
Yeah, they had to call a timeout because he could have started the clock on a change of possession. They will start the clock in high school, so they had to
change
call a
from
timeout.
your regular college and pro rules,
right,
where they do not start the clock on the change of possession. Seems like they're in a hurry to get the games finished in high school. They start the clock after penalties. They start the clock after possession or change of possession.
Well, I don't know if it's trying to get the game all over in a hurry.
Then they cheat us out of 3 minutes because they only play 12-minute quarters.
I think it's just that they go back to the thing that they don't want the players to stay out there any longer than what they have to, and there's a certain time they want the clock to start, and they do it.
One last effort by the Deep Creek Hornets. They didn't give up all year, as the coaching staff mentioned, and they certainly aren't giving up now. They're taking every last chance to do something with the football. Quick pass in the flat, complete. Chris Copeland still on his feet, determined not to give up, and he may not. Well, he's going to finally be dragged down inside the 25, so the yardage for the Deep Creek Hornets will appear to be much greater than you might have expected with only a 14-point output. But they had an awfully successful offensive effort tonight. That last play went for about 40 yards.
They had lost so many yards on sacks and penalties and everything that I know that'll help their statistics look a little bit better, but you have to look at the scoreboard. When you're behind 20 points, you gave it your best shot, and your best shot was 20 points less. Hampton just was just the most dominant force out there from the beginning to the end. They played a complete football game tonight.
Well, that's going to be it from Todd Stadium. The final score, Hampton Crabbers 34, the Deep Creek Hornets 14, as the Hornets will end their season now at 9-2. The Crabbers move to 11-0 as they continue their unbeaten streak, and undoubtedly will be ranked number 1 in the state again next week, according to the polls. Of course, again, going back to the discussion, and I won't belabor the point, but they were ranked because of a power rating difference. They were ranked in a tie with Kempsville, and Kempsville won the coin toss. So next week's game will be played at Kellam High School between the Crabbers and Kempsville. So all of you that can go out for that game, please make every effort. Anything you want to say to wrap it up, Bob?
No, Tim, just want to reiterate what we have been talking about towards the end of the game, that we'd like to have any calls from the fans that watch this, and let Dr. Still and his staff know that they appreciate what we're doing, and we'd like to hear some things about that.
Well, the Hampton Band on the field celebrating the victory, and we're going to wrap it up here. Again, our thanks to everyone concerned. The final score from Todd Stadium, Hampton 34, Deep Creek 14. Thanks for watching high school football. Good evening, everybody.